This podcast of the Equine Forum is brought to you by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business. It all begins in 15 seconds right after this word from our podcast sponsor.
The University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business is now offering a graduate certificate, which can be completed in 15 or 30 weeks and be done as a standalone or used as 20% of your MBA. Classes at both the undergraduate and graduate level are forming now for August.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Get Smokin'. Here's Decorated Invader now moving into second, but Get Smokin' has a two-length lead. Decorated Invader driving up on the outside. Get Smokin', Decorated Invader. They come for the finish. Photo finish. It looked like Get Smokin' held on. Arrest Me Red trying to hold off Pulsate as they come on for the finish, and it is Arrest Me Red to win it by a diminishing head. Arrest Me Red, the 3-year-old, wins the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
And here comes Obligatory. Obligatory rallying boldly down the center of the track, and she has swept to the front. Obligatory inhales Matera and Ms. Bigley. Obligatory on to victory.
Pink Lloyd coming. It's Clayton, joined by Pink Lloyd on the outside. Pink Lloyd and Richie's in the house. Pink Lloyd's in front. Pink Lloyd, monumental again, has won his final race in glory. Second, Richie's in the house. Clayton is third. And then Tappert to win. A fairy tale ending in 1:8:84. We salute the mighty Pink Lloyd.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. It is post time for the show that launched a network, the Equine Forum, all presented by TwinSpires, and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, happy to have you back in the starting gate with me again this morning, right up until 11 a.m. Eastern on Sirius 162 XM 207. Our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast on our website at horseracingradio.net or wherever you access your podcasts. Well, journeyman jockey Kendrick Carmouche is going to join me coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern to kick off hour number 2. Kendrick has mounts in 6 stakes races at Aqueduct this weekend. 5 today, 1 tomorrow. Integration, the even money morning line favorite in today's Grade 2 Hill Prince for Hall of Fame trainer Shug McGahee, is one of the horses that Kendrick is scheduled to ride. And just for good measure, I love this. Kendrick is also named on Todd Pletcher's main track only entrant, Crouppy, in that very same race, who figures to be a heavy favorite if the race is taken off the grass. That's what you call being well-mounted. Kendrick certainly well-mounted in that race. And today, by the way, also the 62-year anniversary of Hall of Fame jockey Eddie Arcaro riding his last career race, finishing third in the Pimlico Futurity. Eddie retired with what was then a record $30,039,543 in purses. He won 4,779 races in that Hall of Fame career. And Arcaro was such a fierce competitor and hated to lose so much that he would do anything to win. And he wasn't ashamed of his do anything to win approach to the game. I love the story. And if you go to his page on the Hall of Fame website, you can read the entire story. But once, when he was appearing before Chief Steward Marshall Cassidy to answer for his actions in knocking a fellow rider off of his mount in the 1942 Cowden Stakes, he almost pitched that rider, by the way, into the infield. It was an extremely aggressive move. And Arcaro, when he was asked about that, in front of the chief steward, famously responded without hesitation, quote, "I was trying to kill the son of a bitch." I think all truly great athletes possess that gene. Now, maybe not to that extent. You don't go out there trying to kill a fellow athlete. But Eddie Arcaro, take no prisoners. That was his style. But you think about the great athletes we've seen in other sports over the years. Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant. All of them have talked openly about their hatred for losing. And I think you have to have that if you're going to be great. Tom Brady hated to lose. Serena Williams detested losing. John McEnroe, he wasn't too keen on it either. And Mike Tyson, he hated to lose so much, he was willing to bite your ear off, right? I'm pretty sure some of the great baseball managers, too, of all time. You didn't have to necessarily even be an athlete to have that hate-to-lose gene. Some of the great baseball managers of all time didn't take losing particularly well. And that's an understatement. Tommy Lasorda, Earl Weaver, Lou Piniella, all used to blow up when things wouldn't go their way, and they would lose. How about former Arizona Cardinals head coach Dennis Green? Remember him? They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. He was so ticked off in his post-game press conference after losing in the playoffs that year. Or what about former Colts head coach Jim Mora? Playoffs? Talking about playoffs? So with that in mind, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Kendrick which jockeys hate losing so much they're willing to do anything to avoid that feeling. I'm sure Kendrick isn't a fan of losing either. But Eddie Arcaro, he took things to a new level. He's certainly right up there among the legends in our sport that hated to lose. I've been told stories of Gary Stevens being extremely ticked off after a race when he would get beat. Angel Cordero would do anything to win and was often accused of being a dirty rider because of it, much like Eddie Arcaro. Now you have Erod Ortiz Jr., and he seems to have taken over that role, the villain role, if you will. But the one thing all of those jockeys have in common, they hated to lose. And by the way, while we're talking about jockeying, we lost one of the great jockeys this past week. Hall of Famer and Kentucky Derby winner Bobby Ussery passed away in South Florida. The Oklahoma native was 88 years old, and I'm sure Bobby Ussery was not a big fan of losing. He won the 1967 Kentucky Derby aboard 30-1 long shot Proud Clarion. And that was, by the way, a mount that Ussery picked up after his original Derby mount, Reflected Glory, couldn't go in the race because of sore shins. One hell of a pickup mount. In 1960, he rode juvenile champion Hail to Reason, and then he won the Preakness, the Flamingo, and the Florida Derby on Bellyache. He also crossed the finish line first in the 1968 Derby, if you remember, but that year his mount, Dancer's Image, was later disqualified. So Bobby Ussery, a huge loss for racing. Another huge loss racing suffered this past week was on Tuesday when longtime owner and breeder Bob Lothenbach passed away unexpectedly in his sleep at age 64. And if you remember, Bob campaigned multimillionaire Bell's the One among so many other great horses. And since 1992, according to an article that was posted on Blood Horse, Lothenbach runners enjoyed 37 black-type wins that included 12 graded stakes wins. His graded stakes winners won 19 graded stakes for Neil Pessin, trainers Chris Block, Ian Wilkes, and Carl Nafsker. And appropriately enough, one of Bob's horses found his way back to the winner's circle yesterday on opening day at the fairgrounds, and announcer John Dooley captured the moment perfectly.
As these maiden 2-year-old fillies straighten past the quarter pole, it's Mia Marcella. With a furlong to go, she's a nearly 5-length leader. Mia Marcella from Tipsy Runner with on the outside Smiling Ellie. Farther out is Joke Master has the gold cap. Moving up as Hauntress between fillies, and Modern Sound is rallying toward the inside. Here comes Modern Sound for Jareth Ludbury. Modern Sound. It was a win heaven sent. Modern Sound to win it from Tipsy Runner with La Scalinetta as they reeled Mia Marcella in. Modern Sound, Jareth Ludbury for Chris Block and Bob.
Somewhat emotional, John Dooley. That's one thing that I love about John, is that he has such a respect for the history of the game. And when moments like that come along, he just has a knack for capturing them, and he did it perfectly. With a win, heaven sent. Modern Sound, owned by the late Bob Lothenbach, in the winner's circle, breaking her maiden at Fairgrounds on opening day. How perfect. How perfect. You know, one thing's for sure, I can tell you 3-year-old gelding Patches O'Houlihan doesn't like losing. So much so that doesn't do it very often. He goes in search of his 7th consecutive win in today's Grade 2 Kennedy Road Stakes at Woodbine. His trainer, Canadian Hall of Famer Robert Tiller, is going to join me here on the show at 9:20 Eastern this morning. If you remember, Patches O'Houlihan, named for the character played by the late Rip Torn in the movie Dodgeball. Patches O'Houlihan has now won 7 of 8 lifetime starts and looks for more later today. We'll see if he can extend that win streak now to 7 coming up this afternoon. I'm also going to bring you the heartwarming story of the 6-year-old mare Infinite Patience, who on October 7th recorded her 13th consecutive victory in stakes competition at Hastings Park in Vancouver, Canada. Don't get a chance to talk about racing in Vancouver, Canada very often here on the show, but we're going to do that for you here this morning because this story is fantastic. And as you can imagine, when you have a horse like that, it can be extremely emotional for the connections of that horse, and it was for Infinite Patience that day. And that includes her breeder and part owner, Bill DeCoursey. And Bill is going to be here at 9:40 Eastern to tell you that story. It is what this game is all about at its core. And Bill sums it up perfectly for you at 9:40 Eastern. So all of that part of a loaded show here this morning. Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. Huge weekend of racing at Churchill and around the country as we embark upon Thursday, Friday, Saturday next week. We'll talk about that here on the show. But I thought it would be appropriate to throw out a Thanksgiving-related poll question for you here this morning. And this is something I'm going to ask Dale and Tim when they join me in the final segment of today's show. I ask, they answer. But the poll question, I want to know, what is the one food you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table? The one food you can't do without. I can tell you the one I can do without, and that's cranberry sauce. Can't stand it. But for me, a good lemon meringue pie. That's my number one choice. If I had to pick one, and it's about the only time of the year that I will eat lemon meringue pie. But Thanksgiving, lemon meringue pie for me. But I want to know, what is the one food you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table? Let me know. You can go to @HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. You can email the show if you don't do social media, mike@horseracingradio.net, and let me know your thoughts. Maybe it's a traditional family dish. Maybe it's just a traditional dish such as something as simple as a turkey. Who knows? But whatever you have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table, I want to know what it is. Let me know on our social media pages or send me an email. All right, here's what's coming up for the show. Trainer Bret Calhoun set to join me in just a few minutes after this next commercial break, 8:15 Eastern. Going to talk to him about his runners coming up in this weekend stakes. Leif, the Director of Digital Sales at Fasig-Tipton, will be with me right around 8:35 Eastern time. He'll tell you about the growth of that platform, which has been ultra successful for Fasig-Tipton. Kendrick Carmouche at 9 o'clock Eastern. Robert Tiller at 9:20. 9:35, Bill DeCoursey set to join me. Coming up at 10 Eastern, you're going to hear the TwinSpires Triple Play with Vance Hanson. 3 races you'll keep an eye on later today. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. And at 10:30, Dale and Tim. I ask, they answer, presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. It's a busy show. Bret Calhoun is next. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm here with Joe Brown Nicholson of Nicholson Insurance Agency. Joe, how do you value a horse for insurance?
Well, Mike, it's easy to value a horse when purchased out of a public auction. The insured value would simply be the auction price. But insuring homebreds can be a little more involved.
How so?
Well, factors such as a stud fee, conformation, pedigree, sales and race records of siblings, even popularity of the stallion all come into play.
How closely do you work with owners in determining a horse's value?
Well, the owner has a pretty good idea of the horse's value, so generally it's just a matter of agreeing to the request and having the policy issued.
For all your equine and general insurance needs, including farm owners, liability, homeowners, auto, and more, contact Joe Brown Nicholson at nicholsoninsurance.com or call 859-224-7080. That's 859-224-7080. Nicholson Insurance Agency.
There are plenty of thrills at Gulfstream Park with live thoroughbred action Friday through Sunday and simulcasting 7 days a week. Join us on track for weekend stakes races and make plans for opening day of the championship meet on Friday, December 1st. Dine trackside in 10 Palms with an elevated view of the track or grab a cool cocktail in the Carousel Club. For reservations, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care Products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
On the ones and twos, pops outside from third. Goddess of Fire, fourth. Coach for Success is fifth. And down inside is Mama Rena. They're off the turn. They're into the stretch. Hidden Connection shaken up to a 3-length lead. And now it's 4. Majestic Doro's trying hard. Mama Rena toward the inside. Goddess of Fire's late on the scene on the ones and twos behind that. But they are all chasing Hidden Connection. Hidden Connection streaking through the stretch to win the Pocahontas by 8 lengths on the wire. Mama Rena was second, Goddess of Fire was third, and Code for Success finished fourth.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on this Saturday morning. Travis Stone bringing them home in the 2021 Pocahontas Stakes at Churchill Downs, won by Hidden Connection. Trainer Bret Calhoun getting ready to saddle Hidden Connection potentially in today's Chalukee Stakes at Churchill Downs. Also cross-entered into the Fall City, which comes up on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. And Brett is with me now. He's actually at the fairgrounds in New Orleans because he has a busy day there today, too. Brett, good morning.
Good morning.
Man, what a day, huh? You got, 4 runners entered in 3 stakes at the fairgrounds. You have Hidden Connection in the Chalukee. Let's start there. Chalukee or Fall City? What do you think?
Chalukee. She will go today.
She will go today. All right. When you're not there for a big race like this, I mentioned you're at the fairgrounds. She'll be at Churchill Downs. You got a great team, I'm sure. Tell me about who's handling the duties there.
Longtime assistant Peaches, Dennis Geyer, and Janine. They've both been with quite a while, and they're in horse in capable hands.
What led to the decision to go in the Chalukee over the Fall City?
It was a tough decision. It wasn't really a black and white decision. It was pretty gray. It was the mile and an eight's a little bit of a question. We don't. It's the unknown for us. We know she'll go the mile, and I think at the end of the day, that kind of was the decision. I think there's a little more depth in the Chalukee than there is in the Fall City, so it was an interesting race to take a look at. But at the end of the day, we just kept to what we know for sure she will do and do well.
We just heard that call of the Pocahontas, and that was certainly a fantastic performance. But when you look at her lifetime record, she's raced 15 times coming into the Chalukee today, 3 wins, 5 seconds, and a third. She always seems to be knocking on the door. Is it somewhat frustrating that she doesn't have more numbers in the win column?
Absolutely. She was a very precocious 2-year-old. She was a solid 3-year-old, took a bad beat in the Louisiana Oaks to a very good filly. And the 4-year-old year has been solid, but it's been a tough year transitioning from 3 to 4. We've tried to place her in good spots, but seems like nobody got spread out too much this year, and so we had to face the top fillies every time, and she was very consistent, has run very well. We've taken a few tough beats, but we think she's gotten very consistent, and we think she's sitting on a big race today.
Yeah, she keeps knocking heads with, all the big girls in that division. You see names like Idiomatic and Search Results and Society in her past performances. It's not like she's getting beat by, horses that aren't at the top of the list in that division.
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to avoid, those kind, but there's just no place to hide these days.
No, there's certainly not, and she's going to have to bring her running shoes again today in the Chuluki, but it is a one-turn mile that probably, as you said, suits her a little bit better than, say, the 1.125 distance. What's her best running style, Bret, if you were to have to say, okay, if she's going to win, this is where we need her to be?
Well, she's usually forwardly placed, and that doesn't necessarily mean the lead. I just think in the top group, I kind of think that's where she'll be. We're going to leave it up to Tyler today, obviously, but that's kind of her trip. She'll be involved early. She definitely doesn't need to be on the lead, but she will be involved in the pace.
She's going to get a rematch, too, with the Todd Pletcher-trained Falconet, who beat her 2 starts ago in the Groupie Doll at Ellis Park. Size up the competition for me a little bit. You're actually favored over Falconet in the Chuluki today.
Yeah, Falconet beat me that day, and then I came back and beat her the last time we faced her. She's solid. I really think the filly that I fear the most is the filly on the rail from Mott. She seems like she might be an up-and-comer, and the one-turn mile might really suit her. That's kind of the one I've got my eyes on.
Yeah, Nostalgic, the Godolphin runner trained by Bill Mott, breaking from the rail 9-2. But again, Hidden Connection, the morning line favorite in the Chuluki today at 5-2. Post time, by the way, 5:35 Eastern time. It's race number 10 at Churchill. Bret, you're also going to be busy at the fairgrounds, and that's the reason you're there today. I mentioned 4 runners in 3 stakes at the fairgrounds this afternoon. Let's start with the Joseph Peluso Memorial Stakes. Prodigy Paradise is your runner in there. Tell me about Prodigy Paradise.
Solid horse, doesn't have a lot of experience yet. Obviously, he's a horse we wanted to run farther, but this is the distance they're at in these races right now. He was solid in his maiden victory. I think he fits well with these. I think there's obviously some more proven horses, more seasoned horses in here, and we think that he's going to get a lot better with more distance.
Yeah, last time out running at Delta Downs and now shifting over to the fairgrounds. Talk to me about the difference in those 2 surfaces, Bret.
Well, dramatically different racetrack surfaces. The Delta Downs is a bull ring, a 3/4-mile oval with a very sandy, almost like a beach sand type surface. Fairgrounds, you have a mile oval with a long stretch. It's a very good service. It's not a lightning fast service by any stretch of the imagination, though, but it's a completely different kind of soil.
Yeah, 2 completely different surfaces. Talking with Bret Calhoun here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Busy day for him at Churchill Downs and at the fairgrounds. He's got a horse entered at Remington Park. I don't know how you do it, Bret. How do you keep all of this straight?
You just stay at it all day, every day. You take a little nap late at night and go at it again.
Well, the 7th race today at the fairgrounds, a couple of horses there, Highland Creek and Who Took the Money. That's the Jacob Moriali Memorial Stakes. Tell me about those 2.
Who Took the Money has been a fantastic Louisiana bred for us. His preferred surface is the turf. They don't have a turf race until Louisiana Champions Day on December 9th. So we're just kind of getting him cranked up. He's been very efficient on the dirt as well, but he is better on the turf. He's a very, very quirky horse. From the time you take him out of the stall up to the paddock to getting him out of the paddock, getting him to the gate, it's always a challenge. And he's a horse that's got a mind of his own. Deshaun says he basically rides the race. He runs the race however he wants to. Deshaun will know down the backside sometimes he needs to get into the race, start getting into the race. He'll tap on his shoulder and ask him to go. won't budge. He'll let him go a few strides and ask him again, won't go. And when the horse decides to go, he explodes, and sometimes he gives himself a little bit too much to do. But he's a very, very talented horse, and like I said again, he's much better on the turf, but he'll give a big account of himself today, I believe. Highland Creek is a horse it's just been a cut below that top echelon, and he's unfortunately got beaten up on a bunch of those horses. He's run solid. He's won stakes. And I'd almost resolved myself to this meet that he was going to have to get down in the claiming ranks. And I ran him over at Delta, preparing him for this, and I thought he'd run a tremendous race. The numbers didn't reflect a great race, but for him, his style, he got covered up. He was in trouble a little bit on the rail, didn't have a place to go, was able to get out late and exploded down the lane. So it gave me another glimmer of hope that maybe he's turned the corner and back on the rise again.
Yeah, that's race number 7. The 9th race at Fairgrounds this afternoon, the Larry Robideau Memorial Stakes. Larry passing away in December of last year. Now we have the Memorial Stakes here this year. Jack Hammer, your entrant in there. Tell me about Jack Hammer.
Jack Hammer was a very good young horse. We were very high on him. He had an injury that set him, gave him plenty of time off to get over it, and he's worked extremely well coming back into this race. Obviously, it's a big ask to come off that long a layoff and go right into the stakes company like this. So, obviously, I think he could possibly need this race, but I do think he'll give a big account of himself today.
How cool would it be to win the Larry Robideau Memorial?
Larry was a good friend of mine. He was around for a long, long time. I came in the business young, and he was a veteran guy and always seemed to help point me in the right direction. So it would be special.
Oh, Bret, you're no stranger to the winner's circle. You look at your resume and you see 3,584 career victories, several great stakes wins. You're having a tremendous year again here in 2023. Keep it rolling. All the best this weekend, and happy holidays, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, that is trainer Bret Calhoun live from the fairgrounds with us this morning. Again, busy day there with those 4 horses entered in 3 stakes races, and then in the Chuluki Hidden Connection, trying to find a way to get back to the winner's circle. And as I brought it up to him, you look at what she's done. It's not like she's being embarrassed in her races. She's running extremely well almost every single time she goes to the post. She's just not winning a lot. 15 career starts, 3 wins, 5 seconds. She's gotten into that, I don't want to say habit of finishing second, but she has been finishing second quite often. And I always chuckle, and I used to say it too, when I hear horse players say, well, the horse doesn't like to win. I'm pretty sure Hidden Connection would love to win. She's just getting beat by some really talented horses. I mentioned Search Results and Society and Idiomatic, Secret Oath. Those are the names of the horses that have been finishing in front of Hidden Connection. You don't have any of those horses in this race later today. Falconet, who I mentioned, 4-1 on the morning line, got the best of Hidden Connection in the Groupie Dial 2 starts ago, but as Bret pointed out, hey, we turned the tables last time out. Even though Hidden Connection was second last time out in the Grade 3 Locust Grove, she still finished in front of Falconet. But Brad bringing up the point that the horse he's most concerned with comes from the rail, Nostalgic for trainer Bill Mott, daughter of Medaglia d'Oro, the 4-year-old owned by Godolphin, ridden by Florent Giroux later today. Third last time out in the Grade 2 Beldame. But I think Nostalgic, even though, yeah, she looks more than capable of winning this race, I think she still has some things to prove at this level. Should be a really good race. Again, post time for the Chuluki, 5:35 Eastern, beneath those TwinSpires later today. And next week we'll be talking about all the big races on Thanksgiving. It's a huge card at Churchill on Thanksgiving, and then on Friday as well. And then we'll be talking about those races and looking ahead to the Saturday Stakes on this program next weekend. All right, when I come back, we're going to turn our attention to the Fasig-Tipton digital sales, which have experienced tremendous growth under the direction of Leif, who is the director of digital sales at Fasig-Tipton. He's going to be with me next to tell you all about that. And then hour 2, Kendrick Carmouche, Robert Tiller, Bill DeCoursey. Some fantastic stories coming up in hour 2. Stay with me. All of that still ahead right after your Legends of the Turf.
Going into the month of June 1953, only one thoroughbred in history, Whiskbroom II, had been able to sweep the handicap Triple Crown, consisting of the Metropolitan, Suburban, and Brooklyn handicaps. That had occurred in 1913. The reason for the difficulty in accomplishing the feat was the combination of the variance of distances and the unusually high weights asked to be shouldered by the better horses in these events. In May of 1953, Tom Fool, the startlingly handsome Green Tree Stable standard bearer, had won the Joe H. Palmer handicap over 6 furlongs while toting an impost of 130 pounds. Now 4 years old, he had become a horse to be reckoned with at any distance with any impost. In the first leg of the handicap Triple Crown, the Metropolitan, he toted 130 pounds on an off-track over the mile distance. Teddy Atkinson, the gentleman from Canada, who was his regular rider, got Tom Fool to the lead at the top of the stretch and tried to let the Son of Me Now coast to the wire for the win. But Royal Vale made a late charge so that Atkinson had to get into Tom Fool, so to speak, to hold on for the score in a time of 1:35 3. In the Suburban at 1 1/4 miles, Tom Fool was assigned an impost of 134 pounds, and only one 4-year-old colt, that being Assault, had been asked to carry more and win. No one wanted the lead in the Suburban, so Atkinson put Tom Fool out in front and rated him very nicely until the 16th pole, when Royal Vale came flying and got eyeball to eyeball in the charge to the wire. Atkinson on Tom Fool and Jackie Westrop on Royal Vale had to reach back for all their riding skills to get all they could out of their respective mounts. The two gallant thoroughbreds were locked together, matching strides, thundering for the finish in an absolutely marvelous spectacle of sport. Tom Fool stuck his head in front of the wire to chalk up the laurels in the second leg of the Triple Crown. Royal Vale had actually gained a slight advantage with 100 yards to go, but Tom Fool had courageously refused to back down and came on again with pure grit to win it. Only Greylag, Devil Diver, and 830 had won it with a higher impost. In his next start prior to the final leg, the Brooklyn, Tom Fool captured the Carter handicap under a burdensome 135 pounds. In the Brooklyn, he was assigned 136 pounds to shoulder for the very testing 12 furlong distance, and not only did he win it, but he won it with authority and then became the first horse in 40 years to accomplish that feat. He then went on to tally 4 more wins that year in winning the Wilson, the Whitney, the Sissenby Mile, and the Pimlico Special. Tom Fool had a year in 1953 that was indeed a watermark in thoroughbred racing. He had gone postward 10 times, all in handicaps, at distances from sprints to grueling routes, and won them all. Need there be any doubt whatsoever that he was dubbed Handicap Horse of the Year, and he was voted champion sprinter, if you can digest that. His composite racing record, 30 starts, 21 wins, 7 seconds, 1/3, 1/4. The stamp of greatness is emblazoned with a capital G next to his name, and the story of his capturing the handicap triple in 1953 is truly a great moment in racing.
You're listening to HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get ready for non-stop excitement at Laurel Park. Immerse yourself in heart-pounding live racing, indulge in mouth-watering culinary delights, and soak in the thrill of our electrifying events. Whether you're a die-hard racing fan or just out for a day of fun with loved ones, Laurel Park promises an unforgettable experience, no matter the season. Don't let the excitement pass you by. Head to laurelpark.com now for all the thrilling details. That's laurelpark.com.
There's a corner of Kentucky in Bourbon County, which some refer to as the Promised Land. There's something in the soil and water that make it something special. So special that some of the world's greatest horsemen have staked their claim in the soil just outside of Paris. Iconic names such as Claiborne, Coolmore, Stone, and Darley grace the fence lines which have housed champions for generations. The name Alapa shines as a tribute to the Gilded Age, sharing the stature and grandeur of its neighbors. Born from the wealth, passion, and imagination of Edward Sims, no expense was spared to fulfill his vision. Sims was in the same league as John Madden and Arthur D. Hancock Sr. as a commercial breeder. The torch has been passed. Welcome to Hill and Dale at Alapa.
Experience the excitement of Ontario racing with over $17 million in purses and programs. The Ontario Thoroughbred Improvement Program is loaded with TIP stakes, sales credits, purse bonuses, mare and foal incentives, and awards for both stallions and breeders. Visit tip.ontarioracing.com to learn more. That's tip.ontarioracing.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Now under a scrubbing, that's Diamond Solitaire. Down against the rail, looking for a way through is Candy Raid as they round the far turn and set down for the stretch drive. It's Grand Avenue Girl sent right to the front as they turn for home in the My Charmer. It's Grand Avenue Girl has a head in front, make it a half. On the outside, Champagne Lady coming with leaps and bounds to the outside. That is Candy Raid. Center of the track, Kate's Kingdom is coming right over the top. Kate's Kingdom on the grandstand side is absolutely rolling. Kate's Kingdom and Candy Raid to the wire. It's Kate's Kingdom.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires, right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. This is where racing comes to talk, and I love to talk to you every Saturday morning here on the program. You just heard from Bret Calhoun in the previous segment. Now we turn our attention to Leif Aaron, who is the Director of Digital Sales with Fasig-Tipton. That call you just heard of the My Charmer Stakes at Turfway last December, Kate's Kingdom getting the victory. That was just after being sold in the Fasig-Tipton digital sale in November of last year. And immediate rewards coming for her new connections. And that's one of the great things about the digital sale. The platform is growing by leaps and bounds, and a lot of that has to do with the entire team at Fasig-Tipton, but certainly that team on the digital side headed up by Leif Aaron, and he's here now to talk about it. Leif, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing wonderful, and I'm so glad to see the way that this platform has been embraced by consigners and by buyers, and it's great to see this growth.
Yeah, it's been an exciting ride. I mean, it's we're still figuring it all out, and it's still relative to in-person sales, we're still in the infancy of digital sales, but it's been a lot of fun. And you had talked a little bit there about consigners and buyers and sellers, and they have embraced it. And I think, part of the reason for that is just, it makes sense for them. From a macro view, I think that, you're just seeing a little bit of correction in the market right now, and costs are, important to people. So, when they're saving on things like shipping, it's cheaper entry fees, compared to in-person sales, it's beneficial for everyone. And I think that's why we've seen the growth we have.
If there are people listening now, and I'm sure there are, who are not familiar with the digital sales platform at Fasig-Tipton, walk me through the entire process of how people enter horses, how they go about bidding on horses. How does it all work?
Yeah, so now basically you can enter a horse, I guess I should say nominate a horse through our portal the same way you do for in-person sales. And for those people out there that have never sold a horse, they can create a portal account on our website and put in all the relevant information. And, as long as we have a realistic seller, the horse, will get into the auction. And once it's in the auction, you have to do pictures and videos, and then x-rays for horses, young horses, and also race horses. And then for brood mares, they'd have to get a PALP cert and a stallion service certificate, just like they would for an in-person auction. And, then the horse goes on the website when it goes live, and people start to bid immediately. They'll go through the catalog, and, we've seen a massive increase in the amount of buyers that are, coming onto the website. Our accounting department is frustrated with me because they've been so busy keeping up with the registered bidders. Fasig-Tipton's been doing this for a long, long time, and in just the last sale, we had 70 people that had never done business with Fasig-Tipton come and bid on these horses. So, what we're seeing is it's doing it online is opening the sales up to a market that we, previously didn't have access to. Not everybody can take a week off and come to an in-person sale. And so, we're providing a service where they can stay right, where they are and bid on the horses. And so they'll bid on them for 4 days. And then at the end of that time, they'll start to close out in 2-minute intervals. And if anyone bids in the last 2 minutes, the bidding will extend out 2 minutes. And so we do that to prevent sniping. And, it gets exciting. We've implemented a beat on there, and I've had a lot of consigners call me and say that beat button is like a slot machine at a casino. They just get a warm feeling inside when that beat button goes off. And, we've had some bidding wars that have extended out 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And you just don't get that in an in-person auction. And it's just been incredibly exciting. And, it's taken off all over the world. We're seeing Tattersalls just had a record number of horses entered for their sale over in Europe. And Australia is doing, 400 to 500 horses a month on theirs. So, yeah, it's very, very exciting. And you're right. In the beginning, you said it takes the whole team of Fasig-Tipton, and there's no doubt about that. Everything from marketing to accounting to, building the website and all the people in the background. And, it takes a real team effort to accomplish those goals.
Leif, if I'm a buyer and I'm getting ready to consider making a purchase at one of the Fasig-Tipton digital sales, I obviously am not going to be there in person as if, like I would be for a regular sale, say like the Saratoga sale, for example. So I can't see that horse in person. What options do I have to be able to inspect that horse? Well,
all the horses are open for inspection. So, it varies on the type of horse that you're wanting to purchase. So, if you compare, let's just take racehorses for one example first. When guys go to claim a racehorse, they usually don't get to see it until right before the race when it goes into the paddock, and then they have to make a last-minute decision. In our sale, the horses are available to be inspected for those 4 days, so they can send their trainer over and look at it. They can send an agent over and look at it. With brood mares, people are comfortable buying them just off pictures and videos. But we've noticed for the more expensive lots, when you get up in the six-figure area that, people will send their agents out to the farm to inspect the horses. And, it's a benefit to everybody because especially the horses, which, they don't have to leave the farm. You take a pregnant mare, the stress is not placed on them going to a sale and being paraded around and out of their environment. They're at home. And so instead of having 3 levels of stress in the ship, the show, and then the ship to their new home and acclimation, it's just one ship. So it's for a buyer, they can absolutely inspect the horses, and we've seen a lot of that.
Talking with Leif Aaron, who is the Director of Digital Sales with Fasig-Tipton. The next digital sale, the December sale, coming up December 7th through the 12th. The nominations close November 29th for that sale. Leif, can they just go to Fasig-Tipton.com to nominate their horses?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then there's another option to just email myself, and we can get the process started. It's important to go ahead and get your entries in now because we have quite a few entered for this sale, this December sale. I'd like to say traditionally, but it's growing so much. I'm not sure how many we'll have in here. The last October we had 30-ish entries, and this October we had 140.
Wow.
So we could see upwards of 200 in this next digital sale for December. So I would encourage everybody to go ahead and nominate and get going with that process because it's Thanksgiving week and it'll be tough to make those deadlines after Thanksgiving.
Is every digital sale a mixed sale?
Yeah, and that's kind of the beauty of it a little bit is that you don't have to wait for a mixed sale or a yearling sale or a 2-year-old sale, or you can enter whenever you like. And this time of year the brood mares are it's easier to sell a brood mare this time of year, and what we've noticed is you can sell racehorses anytime. There's always a hunger for racehorses. So but yeah, this is broodmare season's ramping up, and we're excited.
In addition to the actual sales that are out there, the Fasig-Tipton digital sales, we've also seen a lot of flash sales pop up on the digital platform. Tell me about those.
Well, the flash sales we've had have been wildly successful.
Yeah.
The hardest part with flash sales is the whole business is built on a dream. And when somebody finally, that dream comes to fruition, it's hard for them to say, I'm going to cash in on this dream right now. And, and that's been the hardest part for us in having more and more flash sales is it takes somebody very realistic. It takes somebody very realistic in, their thought process to have a flash sale and to go through with it. But they have been wildly successful, and I always encourage people to do it. And that's the sort of thing we can have at any time. So I would encourage anybody thinking about a flash sale, with a horse that has a recent update as far as a big stakes win or the dam of a horse that's had a big stakes win or a half sibling to a horse that's had a big update. We're here for that. And if I would encourage anybody that has, that thought in the back of their head to reach out.
You can go to digital.Fasig-Tipton.com to learn more about the digital sales. Again, the next one coming up in early December, so you want to make sure you take a look at that. And the beauty is you can be anywhere in the world and participate in this sale, which is something that I think is fantastic. It opens up our sport and the auction side of things to an entirely new market, as you alluded to earlier, Leif, and I think that's just tremendous.
Yep, I appreciate that.
Yep, it does. Leif, before I let you go, I threw out a poll question to our listeners this morning. I want to get your thoughts on this one. With Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday, I want to know, what is the one food you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table?
Mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah, strong.
It's easy. That's an easy one. I look forward to it all year.
I like that. We've got Billy chimes in on our Twitter page and says Grandma's fried chicken. Judy says stuffing, but relatively plain version is the best, not soggy. Other than that, it's hard to go wrong with stuffing. And then green bean casserole, another response on social media. So everybody has their favorites. For me, it's a lemon meringue pie. It's the only time of the year that I will eat lemon meringue pie, but Thanksgiving is when I have to have it.
Perfect. I like it.
Yeah, but I like the mashed potatoes and gravy, too. That's a strong choice right there, my friend.
Thank you.
Leif, appreciate the visit. Keep it rolling. We'll look forward to the December sale. Happy holidays, and we'll talk soon.
All right, thanks so much.
You got it, buddy. Leif Aaron, Director of Digital Sales at Fasig-Tipton. Yeah, it's an incredible program. an incredible platform that they've created, and it continues to grow, as you heard Leif say. Tom says via email, must have a good stuffing. It serves as the perfect exacta with a fried turkey. The perfect exacta with a fried turkey. I like that. He said throw in mashed potatoes and gravy, just like Leif, and cornbread, and it's all you need for a great Thanksgiving dinner. Tom, appreciate the response. LT in Louisville says, dumplings. My grandma made killer dumplings, and now my sister has continued the tradition. Love it. Enjoy those dumplings on Thursday, LT. Keep those coming. You can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. If you don't do social media, let me know what is the one item you have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table. You can also do that on social media. Go to @HRN on Twitter and Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. When I come back, I'll get you ready for a loaded second hour of the program. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Attention horsemen, the 2023 Claiming Crown is coming to the fairgrounds in New Orleans on Saturday, December 2nd. The 25th Claiming Crown features 8 races totaling $1 million in base purses, headlined by the $200,000 Claiming Crown Jewel at 1 1/8 miles. The deadline to make horses eligible for the Claiming Crown is November 18th, with entries to be taken November 25th. Eligibility request forms and more information is available at claimingcrown.com.
Small cell lung cancer can affect anyone, not only smokers. The good news is early lung cancer screenings can detect small cell lung cancer before it spreads, when the disease is most treatable. Join Stand Up to Cancer and Jazz Pharmaceuticals to raise awareness of small cell lung cancer and accelerate the pace of research. Ask your healthcare provider about screening options that might be right for you or a loved one. Visit standuptocancer.org/lung to learn more.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Kelly Clarkson, and as the daughter of a school teacher, I know just how important education is. No matter how old you are or your situation, continuing to learn will enrich your life and help remove barriers you didn't even know were there. So much opportunity, y'all. Whether it's a foreign language, history, or a different way to look at things, take some time each day to learn something new. This message is courtesy of the United States Air Force.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Well, John, the stage is set for the final transaction.
That's right, Joe. Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
He is a wily veteran.
It gives Heather's eyes the chance to wander.
Uh-oh.
Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there. Quit now, and in 5 years, your odds of getting certain cancers drop 50%.
Meanwhile, Randy's stone-faced. He's giving nothing away. He just stands there, wetting his cashier's finger on that sponge.
Heather toes the rubber.
Here we go. Heather's arm is in motion. But instead of pointing at the back wall, she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Heather back. She is out of there. Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They turn to the top of the stretch. Runaway Storm, Salute the Stars. They've been 1-2 throughout. Program Trading swinging into action on the outside. Mondego found a seam down at the 2-path as Runaway Storm leads them. Here's Program Trading kicking into gear down the outside. Mondego going to try to go with that one. Integration is also warming up nicely on the far outside. Final 16th to go. Program Trading. Here's Integration storming down the crown of the track. Program Trading, Integration getting the better of Program Trading. What a training and job by Shug McGay. Integration won at a length and a half the Virginia Derby. Program Trading was after that. Runaway Storm looked to hold third. Photos for fourth.
That Shug guy's pretty good, isn't he? I think he's going to turn out to be okay in this game. Integration, a win in the Virginia Derby, goes in today's Hill Print Stakes. at Aqueduct and is the even money favorite after his 2-for-2 start to his career. He's been really, really good. That maiden win at Colonial, wins by 6.5 lengths, and then comes back with that Virginia Derby win, winning by 1.25 lengths. And the thing I like about Integration is that he's very professional in the way he goes about his business. When he broke his maiden, he was able to sit third, about 6 lengths off the lead early, and just kind of sit back, and then after that stalking trip, draw off and win, and prove much the best that day. And he was sent off at even money that day, by the way, in his debut. Then he comes back in the Virginia Derby, not as highly regarded necessarily, a little bit more overlooked. He was almost 7-1, and he's 7th early on, sits back, relaxes beautifully under Kendrick Carmouche, and then comes rolling for the win. Kendrick is back aboard today in that Grade 2 Hill Prince at Aqueduct. It's a 1 1/8 race on the turf. Again, if for some reason the race would be taken off the turf today, and I'll get an update on the weather from Kendrick when he joins me in about 5 minutes from right now at 9 o'clock Eastern, but if for some reason it would be taken off the turf, no big deal for Kendrick. He's named on the Todd Pletcher-trained Croupi, who is the main track-only entrant in that race. And Croupi is listed at 9-5 on the morning line if the race comes off the grass. So Kendrick in pretty good shape as we look ahead to that one. And as I mentioned, Kendrick is slated to ride in 6 stakes races over the course of the next couple of days. He has 5 mounts and stakes today and then 1 at Aqueduct tomorrow. In the Notebook Stakes, Bonnie Chance is who he will ride, and I'm going to ask him about all of these horses for you in that next segment. I'll let him talk about Unicorn Cake in the Key Sense Stakes, which is the race, couple races after the Hill Prince today. That's race 7. Race 9 is the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship. This is a cool race. $150,000 purse. Dancing Buck for Michelle Nevin will be his mount in that one. And then tomorrow, the Central Park Stakes. Quokka, the horse he will be aboard in there for Tom Albertrani. So I'll get a chance to ask him about all of those stakes coming up this weekend. And, you know, you look at what Kendrick Carmouche has done throughout his career. 3,764 career wins. I started the show in my opening comments talking about athletes in other sports that despise losing, but that's what makes them great. Same thing with jockeys. Gary Stevens, Angel Cordero Jr., a couple that pop into my head right away as jockeys who didn't take losing well. Erod Ortiz Jr., kind of in the same boat right now. And I would say that almost every great Hall of Fame jockey has that gene, that hate-to-lose gene. I'm going to ask Kendrick about some of the jockeys in the game today. I'm sure he's one of them that just can't stand to get beat. And they will do anything they have to do to win a race. And that doesn't mean necessarily being dirty or trying to kill somebody, as Eddie Arcaro said famously back in the day. But just doing whatever it takes. Working harder than the jockey next to you. Spending more time working horses than the jockey next to you. Just like every athlete. Putting more time in the gym. Jockeys do that too. Mike Smith, why do you think Mike Smith is still able to ride at the level he's riding at here in 2023? Mike Smith has not tailed off. Mike Smith has chosen to scale back on the number of races he rides and pick his spots. He's earned that right. But his talent level, his ability, the way he's riding has not decreased at all. It's because of the fact that Mike Smith takes incredible care of his body. He's continually working out, running every day, getting in the gym every day. But those are the things that Mike Smith has done throughout his entire career that helped to make him great. And I'm sure if you ask Mike Smith how much he enjoys losing, he's going to tell you that it leaves a bad taste in his mouth. It's like that for every jockey, every great manager, every great coach. You can't get to the top level in any sport, racing included, if you accept defeat. And that's what drives and motivates so many of these folks. And I'm going to ask Kendrick about that coming up at 9 Eastern. 9:20, you're going to hear from Robert Tiller as he talks about his horse Patches O'Houlihan going in today's Kennedy Road Stakes at Woodbine. Another horse who won't accept losing. Patches O'Houlihan looking for a 7th consecutive win in today's Grade 2 Kennedy Road. But he's also won 7 of 8 lifetime starts. He's really, really good, and it's just the latest in a long line of stars trained by Robert Tiller. You remember he sent out Pink Lloyd, the great Pink Lloyd, to win the Kennedy Road Stakes 3 times in 2017, 2019, and 2021. So I'll ask Robert about that too when he joins me at 9:20. 9:35, you're going to hear from owner-breeder Bill DeCoursey. He has a feel-good story for you here this morning. Perfect for this pre-Thanksgiving edition of the Equine Forum. Infinite Patience was so good for him, and maybe will continue to be next year. I'll ask him about that, if we'll see Infinite Patience next year. The 6-year-old mare recording 13 consecutive victories in stakes competition. And she did that with her win in the Ballerina Stakes at Hastings Park in Vancouver on October 7th. I'm going to talk to Bill about that at 9:35. 10 o'clock Eastern, the TwinSpires Triple Play with Vance Hanson. 10:20, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly stroll through racing history. And at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin. All of that still ahead in the next 2 hours of the show. Stay with me. I'm back with our number 2 after a 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
All right, rolling on. Busy second hour of the program. Just went through the roster of guests still to come for you. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the show, you missed trainer Bret Calhoun, and you missed Leif Aaron, the director of digital sales at Fasig-Tipton. You want to go back and listen? All you have to do is head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can check out the podcast after we finish up this morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can listen to this show and all of our shows every single week on our website and on every major podcast platform. Again, Kendrick Carmouche set to join me here momentarily. We are reaching out to Kendrick now. We'll try to get a hold of him. He is a busy man in the mornings. I just talked about the jockeys that get out there and work horses every morning and put in the time to be great. Kendrick is one of them, and he is at the track now, so we're going to try and reach out to him and see if we can corral him for a few minutes in this 9 o'clock segment. I mentioned Dale and Tim coming up at 10:30 Eastern, and there are a plethora of things to talk about with Dale and Tim, including the piece we saw on 60 Minutes last Sunday evening, which just electrified the thoroughbred industry. The segment, if you didn't catch it, focused on horse racing's problems, including the number of catastrophic injuries sustained by horses this year and the use of performance-enhancing drugs on horses. All of that was documented in this feature on 60 Minutes, and a lot of people in the industry took umbrage with the way that 60 Minutes chose to produce the segment and portray our sport, viewing the segment as one-sided, failing to tell the full story, all of those things that you might expect from a piece like that. And I'm going to ask Dale and Tim, did 60 Minutes get it right, or did they get it wrong? And I think you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Some of the things that Dale and Tim will have to say about that piece, you're going to want to hear them. And again, that comes up at 10:30 Eastern Time. I Ask, They Answer here on HRRN. That's the final segment of the show. A couple of other things, too, that I'm going to bring up with them, including our poll question, by the way. And if you haven't weighed in on that, you can go ahead and do that now. What is the one food you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table? Let me know what it is for you. I told you for me, lemon meringue pie. I'm going to ask Dale and Tim that question. I'll see what they have to say. Dale and Tim, no strangers to eating. I'm sure they're going to have some fantastic responses coming up here. Lee, let's give Kendrick another shot. He is ready to roll. So we'll get Kendrick on the phone here momentarily and see if we can get a hold of him. A lot of things still coming up here on the program. You're going to love that story with Bill DeCoursey. Bill DeCoursey, a longtime owner and breeder in Vancouver, British Columbia. And he owns this horse, Infinite Patience, and she goes on and wins 13 races in Stakes Company. 13 consecutive races in Stakes Company. She did get beat one time within this entire streak, but it came in an allowance race of all things. But he tells the story of how Infinite Patience came to be, the whole breeding side of it and what they were thinking and how it all came together. It's pretty remarkable. And then to end up with a horse like this, and he is very conscious of the fact that it's a win for the smaller owners and breeders in the game that don't have the deepest of pockets to compete with some of the really big boys in the sport of thoroughbred racing. But occasionally, because this is a game built on hopes and dreams, you get a horse that's just better than theirs. And that's what happened with Infinite Patience. And it's such a cool story. I can't wait for you to hear that story coming up at 9:35 Eastern Time. Again, Robert Tiller going to join me at 9:20 to talk about his tremendous runner coming up later today in the Kennedy Road. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a hold of Kendrick. We're going to step away for a quick break. We will come back. Kendrick Carmouche coming up for you here next.
Hey everyone, it's the Baron with this week's North of the Border report presented by Woodbine Entertainment. Sprint star Patches O'Houlihan will face 9 rivals in today's $175,000 Grade 2 Kennedy Road Stakes at Woodbine. A 3-year-old son of Reload, Patches O'Houlihan arrives at the 6-furlong main track race riding a 6-race winning streak after securing this gritty nose victory in the Grade 3 Vigil Stakes on September 16th.
Turning in front of the Vigil, and it's Rock Crest from Patches O'Houlihan, and down the outside trying to run for the back is Last American Exit and Old Chestnut, but Rock Crest is in front. Patches O'Houlihan trying desperately on the outside, and is coming now, and goes up and joins Rock Crest narrowly in front, and here's Last American Exit, and Secret Reserve is flying down the outside. A photo between Patches O'Houlihan and Last American Exit.
Bred and owned by Frank DiGiulio Jr. and trained by Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame inductee Robert Tiller, Patches O'Houlihan has won 7 of 8 career starts. The Vigil was the 4th stakes triumph and 2nd straight graded win for the Ontario bred. And Tiller is looking for another strong showing from his sprint star this afternoon. Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame inductee Pink Lloyd, also trained by Tiller, won 3 runnings of the Kennedy Road in 2017, 2019, and 2021. Tiller also won the race with Blitzer in 1994, Cheap Talk in 2002, and Are You Serious in 2005. Other starters include multiple Graded Stakes winner War Bomber, Graded Stakes winners Dream Shake and Ironstone, multiple Graded Stakes placed Ice Chocolat, Graded Stakes placed Rock Crest, and Stakes winner Sky's Not Falling. First post on Saturday's 10-race card is 1:05 p.m. And that's your North of the Border report for this Saturday morning. For more updates and racing information, visit woodbine.com or follow along on both Twitter and Instagram at WoodbineTB.
All right, we are back here on the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna with you on this Saturday morning. And Kendrick Carmouche is indeed with us now, live from New York, getting ready for a huge weekend. And I mentioned Integration, the Virginia Derby winner, who he will be aboard later this afternoon in that Hill Prince Stakes. Kendrick is with me. Kendrick, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How you doing, Mike?
Good, man. Great to hear your voice and excited to see you do your thing later today. Let's start with Integration because he is kind of the star of the show. Even money on the morning line in the Hill Prince, 2 for 2 lifetime. And, man, you were aboard for that win in the Virginia Derby. That was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I watched him win the time before in Virginia. I was there. That was Arlington Million Day when Tyler Gaffron rode him, and he ran very impressive. Never beat much, but ran very impressive. But the next time when he ran in the Virginia Derby and sitting down the backside, you just felt the horse underneath you. You know, you just had to keep him in a clear spot, and he done the rest. But Suge McGee had this horse ready to run these first 2 times. I'm sure coming in today with the time he gave him between races, I'm sure he's right back at the same peak.
Yeah, I said earlier, I think that Suge guy is going to be okay in this sport.
Hall of Fame guy, you know. I would think so. He's still fighting. He's still fighting.
You know, you've ridden for so many top trainers over the years, Kendrick. How cool is it when you get aboard a horse that's trained by a Hall of Famer like Shug McGahee? Does it give you a little extra confidence knowing that horse is going to be sitting on a peak effort just about every single time?
Yeah, I mean, listen, being in New York in general and riding for some of the big trainers up here, they have confidence enough to put you on their horse. So once you see that, your confidence level goes up to compete at the highest level as you can compete at.
Well, Integration competed extremely well in the Virginia Derby. I said earlier, the one thing that strikes me about this horse is that when you look at him on paper, you watch the replays, he's very professional. And he certainly was professional in the Virginia Derby where he settled underneath you and then finished beautifully. Do you feel that same thing?
Yes, I mean, whenever I went to the paddock, Shug Gallop Boy told me, Kendrick, you can warm him up without the pony. He doesn't do anything wrong. I mean, the whole post parade, you can see him just got his head down, just relaxing, just saving all his energy for the run. I mean, it's amazing getting on these good horses, I never had a lot in my career so far. I've been riding for a while, but I've been on some pretty nice ones, and this is one of them.
3,764 wins coming into today for Kendrick Carmouche, who is my guest here on the Equine Forum this morning. Kendrick, I also brought up the fact that if for some reason, and I'll ask you about the forecast there in New York here in just a minute, but if for some reason the race would be taken off the turf, you're pretty well mounted because you're also slated to ride Croupy, the main track only entrant from Todd Pletcher, who is 9-5 on the morning line.
Yeah, it seems like I got a backup plan, but I really would like to see this horse stay on the I hope that the rain holds off and this horse get to run because I've been dying to ride this horse again, and Croupy ran such a big race last time. I'm sure if anything, if it rains, I'm sure Todd Pletcher has this horse ready to rock and roll for me.
I'm sure he does. What's the forecast up there at Aqueduct today?
It's just cloudy right now. I'm driving to the track right now. I mean, it's just cloudy. So I'm just hoping that, whatever it is, it just passes to the ocean right past us,
Yeah, hopefully it does stay dry. But again, if it doesn't, Kendrick Carmouche has got a backup plan and a pretty darn good one at that with Croupy for Todd Pletcher. Let's talk about a couple of the other horses you're going to be aboard. In the Notebook Stakes, which is the fourth race on the card today, Bonnie Chance is your mount for trainer Bruce Levine. What do you know about Bonnie Chance?
Well, I know she ran a good race first time out in Saratoga. But the next two times they tried different distances, and, I feel like they're cutting back. And these horses, one thing about New York bred horses, anybody can win the race, I believe, because they beat up on each other pretty often, So with that being said, I'm sure Bruce Levine has this horse ready. He's been on fire lately. I won a couple races for him the last couple of weeks over here at Aqueduct. So, everything going in the right direction. I'm just, the guy never gives instruction. Just warm the filly up and let her look like she want to just get her feet underneath her and make one run, So I think that's what I'm going to do today.
Do you prefer a trainer that doesn't give you directions before the race?
Most of the trainers in New York don't give you instructions. They pretty much expect you to do the right thing whenever you go out there. They pick your brain in the paddock to see, if you're on the same page as them, and they tell you what their horse like and what their horse don't like, and you go from there. We're in New York. This is the biggest race in the country, so, and some of the best jocks in the world. So, your game got to be really good up here.
Yeah, I've had trainers come on the program over the years, and they'll say, listen, you get a jockey on there that's experienced like you are, and they don't have to tell them what to do. They can give them some insight into what the horse might like or not like, but they don't have to say, hey, sit fourth at this point, sit third at this point. That's just too much, right?
Nah, that's too much because up here in New York, these jockeys so crafty, they so alert of what everybody going to try to do out there. So, that's hard to do whenever you're giving instructions in New York. And, yes, it does. I think the grass, you can give a little bit more instructions because they grass horses and, you can start and stop those horses and still win. But on the dirt, you pretty much got to let the jock do his thing, I believe.
Kendrick, I brought up the point earlier in the show that this is the 62-year anniversary of Hall of Fame jockey Eddie Arcaro riding his last career race. And Eddie was a guy that absolutely hated to lose, to the point where he would be overly aggressive in his races, but he would do anything to win. Angel Cordero the same way. I think now Irad Ortiz Jr. is looked at in that light. Who are some of the jockeys in the sport, maybe not even currently riding, but over the years that you've competed against that just don't take losing very well?
Well, whenever I was in Philadelphia, whenever I was champion rider in Philadelphia, they had all older riders. I pretty much never rode. I was the youngest one in the jocks room at my age. So, it was a big old learning prospect over there in Philly Park. And, I was with Stu Elliott, Tony Black, Rod Madrigal, Mario Pino, like those type of riders, Ramon Dominguez. I rode with them all in Delaware, Maryland, Philly, and it was, these guys don't want to lose. You shouldn't want to lose. It's bad enough in our sport we lose more than what we win, but in our sport we want to always win. I know as a jockey, in my perspective, when I get on the horse, I feel like I can win on every horse. So I'm going to try my best on every horse to put him in the right spot to make myself successful in the team. So, it's just if you find a jock that doesn't mind losing, he don't belong in the game.
Yeah.
You want to find a guy that's really upset because he might have could have stayed inside or outside and make the difference and win the race. That's the guy that you want on your horse, and the guy that's going to come back and give you an honest answer. Listen, boss, could have done this to win us the race, and that's some of the things about being gritty and being hungry out there as a jockey.
And I'm going to go out a step further and say, I bet you, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, Kendrick, you can't be great as a jockey or any athlete if you don't hate losing.
Yeah, listen, man, you're going to lose, but you got to take the loss as good as you take the win. I'm that person, I don't like losing, but I know it's part of the sport, but I love winning. I love every time I get a leg up and the trainer say he has this horse as tight as he can have him, and the horse is doing as well as it can be doing, and it's up to me.
Kendrick, you've been doing this a very long time at a very high level. How much different are you now than when you first came into the game as a rider?
Oh, man, I'd say I learned so much because you ride so many different horses, and each day you learn something out there, I would say as a rider from Louisiana to Sam Houston, I was changing. Then once I got to Philadelphia, I really got into a good groove, Delaware. But now, since I'm in New York, it's my level of riding is just like, it's not even compared to whenever I used to ride and win all the titles at Parks and when I was in West Virginia. My riding is like on another level, It's just that it's good you can ride good horses and the trainer can tell you good luck, be safe, and get the money. It's to that point now. So they have trust in you. Once they have trust in you and they feel like you belong in New York, it's all the better for you, man. You just gotta do the right thing after that. Get to the horseshoe, get to the winner's circle.
Get to the winner's circle. That's Jockey Kendrick Carmouche with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Kendrick, couple more horses that you're going to be aboard today. I'll ask you about Unicorn Cake in the Key Sense Stakes, and then Dancing Buck in the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship. Tell me about those two.
Unicorn Kick, I really like her. She got an outside post. I don't think she likes sitting in the gate too long. She get a little fidgety, so that's gonna help me. Hopefully, we get in there, we let her settle, and we can get a good break. I got the best post. I'm gonna just break good, put a little pressure early, then after that, leave her alone and let her relax. I think that's the best thing for her. She want to close on horses, so I think that's what I'm gonna do with her. And Dancing Buck, he got. I don't like his post, but it can be a good post too because they got a lot of speed inside. I can break sharp and get over 3 or 4 lengths, tuck in, and hopefully I can get to a good part of the turf where I can let him excel from the 8-pole home.
Well, Kendrick, as good as it gets in New York right now, really, really appreciate you taking some time. I know it's a busy day for you. All the best this afternoon, and safe trip every time you get a leg up, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, and God bless y'all, man. Today is a beautiful day, and let's get lucky, man. Let's get lucky.
Let's go do it. Happy Thanksgiving, too, my friend.
Yeah, you too, man. Enjoy. Make sure y'all eat enough for me because we ride the day after Thanksgiving.
Hey, Kendrick, what's the number one thing, the number one food you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table?
Oh, man, my mom. Oh, man, my mom Cajun. So, man, God dang it. It's so much. You know what? I'm going to tell you what my kids and my wife like the best that my mom makes. Macaroni. We got that good Cajun macaroni over there, brother.
What, like macaroni and cheese?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She make it from scratch and right in the oven. It's unbelievable.
What's she put in it that makes it – how's she Cajun it up?
Oh, she Cajun it up, man. I don't know what she put in it. I've never done it yet because I'm a good cook, and she never taught me that one yet. So she leaving me on the fence on that one. Maybe she might let me see the secret ingredients when I go home this week,
Kendrick, I love it, brother. Good luck today, and again, safe trip and safe travels back home for Thanksgiving too.
Yes, sir. You too, man. Have a blessed day.
Thanks, man. You too. Kendrick Carmouche here on HRRN. Love that guy. Fantastic. And my thanks to him for taking a little time with us here this morning. Coming up next, Robert Tiller talks about his most recent sprint star. He's had several. This is his most recent one. We'll tell you all about it next. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Airdrie Stud is proud to announce the arrival of Grade 1 winning millionaire Happy Saver for the 2023 season. Happy Saver boasts one of the most important female families of the century, as his third dam is Broodmare of the Year Weekend Surprise, dam of the legendary AP Indy. Undefeated in his first 5 starts, Happy Saver capped off his perfect 4-for-4 season with an emphatic victory in the historic Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup.
And Happy Saver stays undefeated. He steps up and he wins the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Airdrie Studs, Happy Saver. Think about it.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
It is Pink Lloyd tackled by Icaron Road, and now we'll see if Pink Lloyd is good enough to take what might be an 8th in a row, and there's no doubt that he sure is. And Pink Lloyd has done absolutely everything and more. A perfect season. Pink Lloyd does it in style. Pink Lloyd and reconfigure. Pink Lloyd has got them on the outside. Pink Lloyd back in action in front. Extravagant get on the inside. And then Dixie's Gamble. How good is Pink Lloyd? He's the best. Pink Lloyd has won the Kennedy Road Stakes by a length. Pink Lloyd and Richie's in the house. Pink Lloyd's in front. Pink Lloyd, monumental again, has won his final race in glory. A fairy tale ending in 1:8:84. We salute the mighty Pink Lloyd.
The mighty Pink Lloyd, so good. A winner of the Kennedy Road Stakes at Woodbine on 3 separate occasions, 2017, 2019, and 2021. Robert Tiller, no stranger to the winner's circle in any big race, but certainly the Kennedy Road, where he has 6 victories to his credit in that race. And he is with me now here on HRRN. Robert, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Good, good. Appreciate the visit. If I understand correctly, you're making your way from Keeneland back up to Woodbine?
Yes, I am, actually. I was there. It's a long drive down, all the way from Keeneland now. And, yes, I should be home within the next 2 hours.
All right, you'll be there to saddle your latest star, Patches O'Houlihan, in today's Kennedy Road. Looking forward to seeing him do his thing.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the race. He hasn't raced for about 2.5 months, 2.25 months, which is a bit of a concern. But he's jumping out of his skin, and he's really, really happy, and we'll see what happens. It's a tough race. It's the toughest race he's been in. I don't particularly love his post, but again, he's really, really sharp. So I expect another big race out of him.
He's looking for his 7th consecutive victory. As a win streak like this progresses, Robert, does the pressure start to mount at all or no?
Listen, pressure, I've had pressure all my life. So my name is, Robert P. Tiller, Robert Pressure Tiller. No, I try not to think about that. It's a horse race, and all you can do is do your very best, and I believe he's very ready, and he's a very nice horse, and he's going to make a real good accounting of himself. He just digs in all the time. That's the impressive part about him. He looks beat, and then here he comes again. So, no, he's a good horse.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about his best attribute, but it sounds to me, after hearing your comments there, it might be his heart.
Exactly. The whole point with any thoroughbred racehorse, as we all know, is heart and desire, and he's certainly got that. And, it's nice just to have him. He's only a 3-year-old, running against older horses. Remember that. He's a 3-year-old, and he's beat them a couple of times now. And his first few races he won easily, but they were in Ontario sired stakes. So he's a very, very good horse, I believe.
Yeah, named for the Rip Torn character in the movie Dodgeball, Patches O'Houlihan. I love the name.
Well, you know what? I love the name, too, and that's Frank DiGiulio Jr., who owns him and bred him, and he's been a customer of mine for over 40 years. And, he's amazing with names. He's always looking up names and writes them down. And I never knew because, horse trainers go 7 days a week, so I kind of just thought he was named after some Irishman or something. I didn't have a clue. I don't watch TV. Unless Donald on. Oh, that's another story. No. Well, he's an actor, isn't he? I don't know what he is.
Sure.
Anyway,
Sure.
At the end of the day, that's, hey, we're just happy to have the opportunity to run them, and what will be, will be. It's the horse race.
Your first win in the Kennedy Road came back in 1994 with a horse named Blitzer. What do you remember about that day?
He was a good horse. Frank Stronach owned him, and I got the opportunity to train a few for Mr. Stronach, and he was a very good horse. I remember he come running on the outside. It's 102 years ago, just before the Boer War broke out. But you just go on. You go on. You go on to the next race, the next horse. But the good ones you never forget. You never forget. A horse like Pink Lloyd, I'll never ever forget. I mean, when you win 29 races and 26 stakes, I've never seen a horse like him in my life. And he was ugly too. Boy, was he ugly.
Pink Lloyd?
So looks as yes, he was not a real pretty horse. I didn't think. He kind of had a camel back, big hump in his back, and just amazing. Just had all heart and all desire.
Yeah, just so good. Pink Lloyd, a winner of the Kennedy Road Stakes on 3 separate occasions, as I mentioned earlier, and then all those other stakes victories that you just alluded to, Robert. Is it still difficult for you to come to the barn in the morning and not see him there?
Oh, absolutely. I think about him all the time. He's up at long run retirement. We go up and see him, and he's happier than a bumblebee up there, so he deserves his retirement. And, you know, that's a really important thing is to retire these horses. And luckily, you know, we find homes for not just most, pretty well find homes for all of them, whether they're slow, fast, or medium, you know, when their days are over. And that's very important to me because I came in this game for the love of the animal, and you know, obviously it's a competitive business, a lot of money involved, but I still love the animal, so that's what I love.
Yep. Yeah, I think any person that's involved in this sport and works so hard in this game at any level, whether it's on the farms or at the racetrack or in the offices at the administrative buildings, we all do it for love of the horse, right? That's where it all starts.
Absolutely. You know, like you just said, it's a competitive, expensive business. You're always under the gun to try and produce, and you do the best you can. And I've had a great career. I have no regrets whatsoever, and I've been lucky enough to work for some good people, and mainly stayed up here. And you know, I lost my wife about a year ago, and that's been a hard go. And because she was the best mare in the barn.
Yeah, very sad, and condolences there, Robert. And you know, but we continue to do our thing. We continue to focus on the horses. And I've been told many times by people that suffer those types of tragedies that, you know, they fall back on the horses.
Yeah, you just got to keep going. And, the horses are keeping me busy still. Although, you know, I tell all the girls I'm 37 years old, but I'm actually 73, and I'm gonna be 47 next week. I think it's December 20th. I don't know.
Good for you. I hope you get to celebrate with a win in the Kennedy Road today.
Well, that would be nice, and if not, we have to move on.
It is
anyway.
so true. It is so true. Robert, let me throw a couple more names at you, and you tell me their stories. Cheap Talk and Are You Serious? Those were two other horses you trained that won the Kennedy Road. And since we're talking about the Kennedy Road today, tell me about those two horses.
Well, Cheap Talk I bought as a weanling for ham and cheese sandwich, I think in 1100 in Kentucky. And he was a nice horse. He was a very quirky horse. I gave half the horse to my assistant trainer, who's still with me right now. He hasn't fired me yet. I don't know why. At times. But you know, I just finished talking to him actually. Yeah, and we won the Kennedy Road with that horse. We won a couple of stakes. He was a good horse. He was a very quirky horse. Very hard to get him around the racetrack. I remember that much about him. And again, you know, I remember that day. It's a long time ago, but. He had heart, too, but he was a horse you had to gallop in blinkers, and like I said, extremely quirky horse. And the other one, the other guy was, again, that kind of horse. He wasn't a super horse, but that day he was wanting to do it, and he got up and won the race. And I think he won 4 or 5 races before we retired him. But no, he was no Pink Lloyd or Patches O'Houlihan. Neither one of those horses were that good. But I had a lot of good ones over the years. I've been lucky.
Yeah, you've been lucky and blessed, and it's been an incredible career, Hall of Fame career. And I really do appreciate you taking a little time with me here this morning. All the best with Patches O'Houlihan this afternoon, and safe travels back home to Canada.
Oh, yeah, I'm only about 3 hours away right now, so all is well. But I think this will be my last drive. These night drives with big trucks on the road and everything is not. That's for a young man. You know, I used to do it with my wife, so it was a lot easier then, right?
Yeah.
When you do it alone, it's. Anyway, I'll have to have an extra driver the next time.
Yeah. Amen to that. Be safe, Robert.
Yeah, all is well. The sun's shining here. Hopefully it's a good day. You guys have a great day and good luck. And bless everybody. Thank you very much for calling me.
You too, buddy. Good luck today. Robert
right.
Tiller, fantastic trainer and one of racing's really, really great people. my thanks to him for taking a little time here. When I come back, you're going to hear the heartwarming story of a 6-year-old mare by the name of Infinite Patience. Bill DeCoursey will join me. Stay tuned for that. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Achieve Equine, makers of Flair Equine nasal strips, brings you innovative, evidence-based products for the health and well-being of your equine athletes, like the new Impact Protection Half Pad from Europe, VIP Equestrian, that provides a superior layer of cushioning for the horse's back. Visit achieveequine.com for more information on the innovative products we offer. That's achieveequine.com. Breathe easy, we've got your back.
Adina Stallions set the gold standard, all #1 in their category. Point of entry, the #1 stallion by black type and greatest stakes winners standing in Canada.
Oh, the classy point of entry would not be denied.
Shaman Ghost, the #1 second crop sire standing in Canada.
It's Shaman Ghost, an overwhelming force in the last 16th of a mile.
Signature Red, the #1 stallion by percentage of black type winners standing in Canada.
Signature Red won his second Highlander in a row.
And Silent Name, the #1 stallion by percentage of black type performers standing in Canada. A list that includes Grade 1 winner Silent Poet.
Silent Poet in front. Admiralty Pier out the ground, but Silent Poet has won the Highlander Stakes.
And don't forget Adina's new sire, American Guru. His first crop are now yearlings of 2023. American Guru, the son of Unbridled Song, whose family have already set their gold standards around the world.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Past the 3/8 they go, and Daphne continues to lead it. 6 furlongs in, 1:11 and 3. And it's Daphne with the lead, but Infinite Patience putting pressure on. Above average on the outside. Weeby 3 will need a way through, and Pretty Area 5/16 from home. And it's now Infinite Patience with the lead. As they turn for home, Infinite Patience leads it now by 2. Weeby 3 skims the rail. On the outside is above average. Deep stretch now, Infinite Patience by 2.5, by 3. Infinite Patience captures the 44th running of the Ballerina. Above average second, Weeby 3 third, Pretty Area, and Daphne.
Well, welcome back to the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. That is the way it sounded at Hastings Park in Vancouver, British Columbia on October 7th when Infinite Patience rolled to victory, recording the 13th consecutive victory in stakes competition. She was all class that day, as she has been for much of her career, and nobody knows that better than her owner, part owner, and her breeder, Bill DeCoursey, who is with me now from British Columbia. It's a fantastic story, and Bill, congratulations. What a ride.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. And of course, it's just not me. It's all the people that our trainer, and we call it the top-notch crew, that are all behind her. And, of course, Antonio Rios has been on every one of her wins.
Yeah, it's a wonderful team effort, and we talk about that a lot here on the show, that it takes a village to get to this point. But as you're listening to that call again here on radio, what was going through your mind?
Well, we were, first of all, I'm superstitious, so a little hesitant about the 13th race. And secondly, this Weeby 3 had been waiting for us. We shipped to Edmonton and did very well there, and she didn't. And she waited here, and we were a little concerned about her, like we are in every race, and on pins and needles, to tell you the truth. And when she come through, we were so excited. My wife was crying. Barb was crying. We went home that night, and we watched that race numerous times. The next morning, my wife is still shaking. It was just so exciting.
And it's more special, too, because
the thrill never ends.
Yeah, it's special, too. Not only are you co-owner, but you're the breeder of Infinite Patience, who I mentioned. Yeah. That makes it it takes it to a whole new level, doesn't it?
It sure does. We had her mom, and her mom won a stakes race in Edmonton, and she raced a few times in California for us, and mostly up here. She won a couple $100,000. She was a very successful horse too. And Infinite Patience was her sixth foal, I think it was. Yeah, sixth foal from Ontario. And we lost the first one. We named the second one Cash Spiel after my son who liked to curl. The next one we named Handsome Chef after my other son who was a chef. The next one was kind of unusual because she was due to be bred and the stallion passed away suddenly, and we had to take what was available. And we took an old horse named, a very successful old stallion called Stephanotis, and he nicked out at about a D- or something. And I never liked that horse, that baby. So I put her in the auction. I sold her to Alberta. And, of course, the next year she was Horse of the Year in Alberta.
Wow.
and not only that, they took the name that my name Raider, who I had a horse I bought at the auction, and they took my name, named Raider. It was Horse of the Year. Actually, we met in Edmonton a few years later, and we had to race against her, but it was quite a story. And then, of course, there's Infinite Patience, who is named after my wife, Noy, because she's put up with me for 45 years. So my wife has infinite patience.
What a special story, and to have it come to that level the way it did back on October 7th is certainly special. And you said after the race, Bill, that you were quoted as saying, "We're hoping our success encourages other small owners to realize it is possible to compete against the industry's bigger outfits." What a message.
Yeah. Well, it is. And, we've got numerous small owners here that are partial owners or own one horse and hang in there. And they're the real basis of the racing industry out here in Vancouver. And, of course, we have to race against guys that go and buy horses in the Keeneland and so on. And it's a real challenge. But, it can be done. And I feel other people should try to follow my footsteps, either alone or in syndicates, and go ahead and have fun with it, and we'll try our best to beat up on the big boys. Boy, it's pretty fun when you do.
It certainly helps make things a little bit more special when you can find a way to beat the big boys in our sport. There's no doubt about it. You have a high profile partner involved with Infinite Patience too. Tell me more about that.
Well, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a hockey player for the Edmonton Oilers, a very successful one. And he's also in horse racing. And he happened to have the same trainer as me. And he inquired about her before her first race because she was training so good, and we just kind of put it off. And after she convincingly won her first race, he approached me to buy half of her. And we came up with a formula, and away it worked. And it's been pretty darn good. Ryan and I see eye to eye on most things, and we've gone along very well about it. But he's been a successful horse owner in other areas, too. He has other horses and done very well over the years.
Well, not only, Bill, were you emotional after that 13th consecutive victory in stakes competition, your wife was emotional, and trainer Barbara Heads, who has been doing this a long time, became very emotional as well. How come?
Well, we don't know what the future holds. That's part of it. This horse has been. Barbara's just an amazing trainer. She lets the horse do the talking, and she understands what the horse is saying. And last year, the horse was tying up. We couldn't start the year off. We didn't get going until about July or so. Then this year, she had a virus which had gone through the barn a bit, and it might have been that West Nile virus. We weren't sure what it was. And so she didn't get going until August this year. And Barb recognizes all these things. And, a horse's career at the very top of her career is very limited. And you don't know when it's going to end. And she came out of the race with a few small problems, but not we were hoping to take her either back to Woodbine or perhaps down to Golden Gate and then Santa Anita. But she just had a few small problems, and we said, no, we're not going to do it. We'll just wait another year, and we'll just see what next year brings us.
Oh, so the plan is to see her again next year?
Well, we hope so. Like I say, there's always a trip here and there, but we hope we will. We hope she'll race at Hastings next year, and then see how it goes. It's up to Barb and her crew to take a good look at her and see how she looks at the beginning of the year. I was out at the farm the other day, and she used to be a biker chick, and she was hard to deal with, and her nickname is ironic because she has no patience at all for anything. And and I was out at the farm the other day, and she was calm and looked like she'd been groomed. I said to the farm owner there, I said, "Did you groom her?" He said, "No. It's just she looks so content and happy. I never seen her that way before." So we're just hoping we can race her next year. Let me tell you a little bit about how my wife got me back into racing. Do you mind if I tell you that story?
No, I would love to hear that. Sure.
Well, we had some horses, numerous horses in the late '90s and early 2000s, and I had moved to Thailand for a few years. I was working over there, and we came back, and I said to my wife, "I sure like to buy a horse. What do you think?" And she said to me, "Well, that's a pretty good idea, I thought, "Oh, I'm pretty excited." And actually, one of the announcers at the racetrack is a friend of mine. We picked out a couple of horses already that we'd like to claim. And I said to my wife, I said, "Well, what do you got in mind? Mike and I have picked out two." She said, "Well, what I want is a Mustang convertible." So I took her down to the Ford dealership and factory ordered a Mustang convertible, and then claimed Montero. And that's how we got in that bloodline.
Unbelievable. Whatever it takes, Bill, right? Whatever it takes.
Well, you got to keep the family happy,
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Bill DeCoursey here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires, the breeder and part owner of the ultra-talented Infinite Patience. And if you are just tuning into the conversation, Infinite Patience recorded her 13th consecutive victory in stakes competition on Saturday, October 7th. It came at Hastings Park in Vancouver, British Columbia, and it came in the $100,000 Ballerina Stakes. And she has just been so consistent. And, Bill, I really do hope we get a chance to see her again next year.
That's very kind of you. I sure have a lot of guys saying the same thing. And also, I really am humbled and appreciate you giving us a call and letting us tell her story.
Yeah,
and I really do hope that other minor horse owners out there continue doing what they can to create this wonderful sport.
Before I let you go, Bill, you've told a couple fantastic stories already, but when you start talking about Infinite Patience with people and you start telling her story, what are a couple of the key points you always bring up? Maybe a couple of the most special moments to you so far in her racing career?
When she has been injured and Barbara Heads, the trainer, brings her back and, like I said, knows what she needs and brings her back and gets her back racing again. She had a serious injury in Woodbine, and she came back and she raced 7th, and then she raced 2nd or 3rd, and Barb brought her confidence level all the way back up, not only physically but mentally. Barb has this trick of getting the horses ready mentally. That's when I was. Then when she came out and won another stakes race again, I was in tears. I got to face it. It was so special. And then going back to Edmonton, where I was born, and Ryan can't make a lot of the races because he's playing hockey, and he made it, and his lovely wife Bree made it. Who they just had a baby, by the way. And
congratulations.
We were. Pardon me.
I said congratulations to them.
Yeah, and we were all there at Edmonton, and then she won the race that her mother won 12 years before that or something like that in my hometown of Edmonton, Alberta. So that was really, really special. And I also had my relatives out there too. And the relatives could enjoy the day and the atmosphere. And here's a little plug for Edmonton. You know, when they do the Canadian Derby there, half the crowd is dressed up in costumes, and they have so much fun. It's a ball. And she came there and won 3 times. She won that race 3 times now. It's just so exciting.
Wow. What's your favorite piece of Infinite Patience memorabilia? If I were to walk into your house, Bill, and look around, what are some of the things I'm going to see that you're always going to cherish?
Well, I'm sitting on a chair that has that Northland's Distaff number 3 saddle cloth, and the back of the chair's got the BC Cup Distaff. And I got my cousin's an artist, and I got my cousin to paint a picture of her coming down the track with us in it in Vancouver here. So these were some pretty special things. But the house is just full of not only trophies but pictures and photos and happy times. Even my grandson's in most of them.
Well, that's what it's all about, Bill. This game allows you to be with your family and your loved ones and let them take the ride with you, and I'm so glad you're getting to do that with Infinite Patience. Can't wait to see her back in action next year. Let's hope that happens, and really, really appreciate the time here this morning. Thank you so much, Bill.
Well, you're very kind, and again, I feel very humbled that I can be on a program like this. And once again, it's a big deal to get the small owners together and to win some races is just terrific.
Keep it rolling, Bill.
Okay, thanks very much for the call, eh?
All right, all the best. Bill DeCoursey here on the Equine Forum. What a story. That is what this game at its core is all about, and that is why I wanted to bring you that story here this morning. I've been waiting to welcome Bill to the program since that win in October, because he spent some time over in Vietnam for a while after that win, and we finally were able to coordinate here this week, and I think it's appropriate right before Thanksgiving we bring you a very special feel-good story like that. So my thanks to Bill DeCoursey, and my thanks to Infinite Patience, and let's hope we see her back on the track again in Western Canada next year. When I come back, it is time to take a look at some historical dates in racing history and get you ready for our number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie. So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Well, John, the stage is set for the final transaction.
That's right, Joe. Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
He is a wily veteran.
It gives Heather's eyes the chance to wander. Uh-oh. Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there. Quit now, and in 5 years, your odds of getting certain cancers drop 50%.
Meanwhile, Randy's stone-faced. He's giving nothing away. He just stands there, wetting his cashier's finger on that sponge.
Heather toes the rubber.
Here we go. Heather's arm is in motion. But instead of pointing at the back wall, she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Heather back. She is out of there. Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. 2 hours just about in the books, 1 hour still to come. I'll tell you about what's ahead in just a moment. But I've been asking you throughout the morning to weigh in on our poll question with Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. What is the one food you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving table? And a few more responses coming in here on Twitter. According to my dad, pumpkin pie. But for me, it's dressing. That's what Becky says on Twitter. Cornbread stuffing getting a vote there. And Chad says beer. Yeah, isn't that a staple? Beer as his one thing that he absolutely has to have at Thanksgiving. Roger on Facebook, on our HRN Facebook page, says dressing, not stuffing, and cranberry sauce is a must with it. So keep those coming. I'll try to get to those again in the third hour of the program. You can go to @HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or if you don't do social media, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, and let me know the one food item you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving table. All right, time now to take a look at a few dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend. Told you about jockey Eddie Arcaro on November 18, 1961, riding his last career race. He finished third in the Pimlico Futurity that day. It was also on this day in 1972 that Secretariat capped his 2-year-old racing season with a 3.5-length victory in the Garden State Stakes at Garden State Park. The winner's share of the purse was $179,199, and that is the most the Secretariat ever won in a single race. November 18, 1979, in the 8th race at Aqueduct, Lafitte Pincay Jr. had his 4,000th career win aboard Gladiolus. And tomorrow, November 19th, 1956, happy anniversary to jockey Fernando Toro, who won his first career race at Hippodromo in Santiago, Chile. And those are historical dates as they apply to this weekend in racing history. Getting ready for this third hour, and it is going to be loaded, including Dale and Tim coming up at 10:30, the third hour of the program. I'll remind you that if you did miss any of the first 2 hours of the program, you missed trainer Bret Calhoun, you missed Leif Aaron, who was with me, the director of digital sales at Fasig-Tipton. You missed a really fun interview with Jockey Kendrick Carmouche. Robert Tiller, the Hall of Fame trainer, was with me at 9:20, and then Bill DeCoursey in that previous segment with a really cool story on Infinite Patience. If you missed any of that, go back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can listen to the podcast of this show and all of our shows on our site and on every podcast platform. Make sure you do that and follow along on social media as well, at HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. One of the things that I'm going to bring up with Dale and Tim is the segment that aired on 60 Minutes this past Sunday. The segment, if you didn't catch it, focused on a lot of horse racing's problems, and it included some very graphic images of catastrophic injuries sustained by horses. It talked about the use of performance-enhancing drugs. It talked about Navarro and service and the things that happened there, the FBI wiretaps, all of those types of things. And I want to get Dale and Tim's opinion. I think that you're really going to want to stay tuned for that because the things that they have to say on that topic are not to be missed. So stay with us. That comes your way at 10:30. Hour 2 kicks off next. I come back with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Vance Hanson going to join me to share his thoughts on a few races you'll want to keep an eye on later today. And then at 10:20, Kurt Becker takes you on a weekly Stroll Through Racing History. 10:30, I once again welcome Dale and Tim for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. All of that still ahead. If your local station is leaving us at this time, continue listening to the third hour of the program nationwide on Sirius XM, in the Louisville, Kentucky market on ESPN 680, or your computer, phone, tablet with all of our live streaming available at horseracingradio.net. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum is coming up next, right after I pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Get Smokin'. Here's Decorated Invader now moving into second, but Get Smokin' has a 2-length lead. Decorated Invader driving up on the outside. Get Smokin', Decorated Invader. They come for the finish. Photo finish. It looked like Get Smokin' held on. Arrest Me Red trying to hold off Pulsate as they come on for the finish, and it is Arrest Me Red to win it by a diminishing head. Arrest Me Red, the 3-year-old, wins the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
And here comes Obligatory. Obligatory rallying boldly down the center of the track, and she has swept to the front. Obligatory inhales Matera and Ms. Bigley. Obligatory on to victory.
Pink Lloyd coming. It's Clayton, joined by Pink Lloyd on the outside. Pink Lloyd and Richie's in the house. Pink Lloyd's in front. Pink Lloyd, monumental again, has won his final race in glory. Second, Richie's in the house. Clayton is third. And then Tappert to win. A fairy tale ending in 1:8:84. We salute the mighty Pink Lloyd.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Well, welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Equine Forum rolling on this Saturday morning. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, happy to have you along for the ride as we make our way toward the finish line here. 11 a.m. Eastern is when things will wrap up, but it has been a busy first couple hours of the show. If you missed any portion of the first 2 hours, you know what to do. Head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can listen to the podcast anytime you get some time on our website, and you can also do that on every podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Podbean. However you listen to your podcast, type in Horse Racing Radio Network and follow along each and every week. Well, Hour 3 kicks off momentarily with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Vance Hanson will join me to give you 3 races to keep an eye on later today. 10:20, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History, presented by Keeneland. And at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer. Dale, Tim will both be here to talk about some of the hottest topics in the sport. And that all comes your way coming up at 10:30 Eastern Time. Without further ado, it is time for the TwinSpires Triple Play. And as I mentioned, Vance Hanson is here. Vance, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Glad to be with you again.
Yeah, looking forward to talking a little racing, hearing your thoughts on a few different races, and I love your approach this week. You know, each week we ask the TwinSpires folks to select 3 races that they feel folks can make some money with, maybe races that present some value, whatever the case might be. And this time you have chosen one race at 3 separate racetracks. I love that. It gives people a little bit of something from, for everyone.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life, and when it comes to betting the horses, and so I took that approach this week for sure.
All right, well, let's kick it off. We're going to start with the 5th race at Aqueduct, which is the Grade 2 Hill Prince. It's 1.1 miles on the turf. Post time for that one, 1:48 Eastern, and we're going to go in post position order. The second race we'll talk about will be the 7th at Churchill Downs, and we'll wrap it up with the 8th race at the Fairgrounds. But let's start with that Hill Prince. Again, 1.1 miles on the turf. How'd you see it?
Well, we have a pretty strong favorite in here in Integration, trained by Shug McGahee, who won back-to-back races at Colonial over the summer. He jumped right out of a dominant maiden win into victory in the Virginia Derby, defeating Program Trading, who had just come off a victory in the Grade 1 Saratoga Derby. So he looks pretty formidable in this spot, but obviously he's not going to be offering any value whatsoever. And the horse I'm kind of tuning in on as a value play is number 4, Equitize, for trainer Chad Brown. Now, this horse has only run once in his career, and that was way back in March when he won his debut at Tampa Bay Downs. But as everybody knows and follows racing in this country, Chad Brown really has had a knack for running very lightly raced, inexperienced horses in graded stakes company and actually winning with them, sometimes at a decent price, kind of in the 4-1, 6-1 range. I mentioned Program Trading was one of those. He won the Saratoga Derby in his 3rd career start. He's had fillies earlier this year, Surge Capacity, Prerequisite, won graded stakes coming off maiden wins. So I think he must think really highly of Equitize to run him in this spot off such of a long layoff. And pedigree-wise, he's really built to be a graded stakes quality performer. He's by Kingman, a top European sire. His dam was a Group 2 winner in France going long, and she's a half-sister to Waldgeist, the top German performer who won the Arc de Triomphe over Enable back in 2019. So a great pedigree on Equitize. Chad Brown showing confidence, throwing him into this tough spot off of a long layoff. And that 5-1 in the morning line, I think he offers value.
Yeah, really good value at 5-1. Integration, the favorite at even money, breaking just to the inside of Equitize, a son of Quality Road. And he's been ultra impressive in both of his wins. And as you said, Vance, he could very well win this race. He's very talented, but you'll take a shot against him. But when you look at Integration, what do you see in him?
If you just go back and watch the replays of his 2 races, I mean, he's a physically imposing colt. I guess it's not a wonder that it took them until the August of his 3-year-old season to get him started out. But I mean, he just physically, the way he moves and the way he pounced on both of his fields at Colonial. I mean, he's a colt with a bright future, I think.
Yep, he's going to be very tough in here, but Vance is going to take a swing against him with number 4, Equitize at 5-1 for Chad Brown and Arad Ortiz Jr. Those two have never teamed up to win any big races together. They've never won graded stakes in New York, have they?
Not that I can recall. I mean, this might be breaking new ground for these guys.
Yep. Yeah. All right, well, we'll see how that one plays out. Race 7 at Churchill is the second leg that you have chosen. 4:01 Eastern is the post. It is a $120,000 maiden special weight race, 6 furlongs on the main track. And I would imagine, as I skim through this field here, Vance, there are probably several ways that you could go and plenty of value here.
Yeah, this is a tricky maiden race. A lot of first-time starters and several that have run once or twice already. One of the first-time starters that kind of caught my eye, on paper at least, it looks like a potential contender on paper, is number 9, Phantoma, debuting for Cherie DeVaux. This filly is by Distorted Humor, who is 15% first-time starter, winner with the debut runners. And this filly is also a half-sister to Prince of Jericho, who is a multiple stakes winner, sprinting on the Maryland circuit this year and also placed in the Chick Lang on Preakness Day. So she's got some pedigree to her, and the work tab, I think, has been fairly intriguing. She started working back in July, or possibly even before that. The past performances don't go past late July, but She's been working very steadily throughout, took a little bit of a break in September, I think perhaps because since she was stabled at Keeneland, maybe they had to make way for the yearlings there, but she got right back on the work tab in late September, has been working steadily for this debut spot, and her work seemed to be above average in speed, especially the 5 furlong move back in late August at Keeneland when she zipped 1 minute 3/5 for 5 furlongs. Her half-mile works have been pretty solid, too. She picks up Florent Giroux here, first time out. 15-1 on the morning line. Maybe she starts lower than that here. It's hard to tell ahead of time how they're going to be betting these first-time starters, but on paper, I thought Phantom looked like an intriguing possibility for this race.
Great value, too. 15-1 gets Florent Giroux first time out. That can't hurt. And, good works leading up to this one for Phantoma in that race at Churchill Downs. That is race number 7, the second leg of this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. And, Vance, I'll pause for just a minute before we get to the 8th at Fairgrounds and remind all of our listeners that the races we talk about each and every week here on this segment are races that you feel or the handicappers feel present some type of value. You give them a guideline, a roadmap, if you will, to a way that they can play these races. But we encourage everybody, as we always do, to play the races at TwinSpires.com. And I'm quite certain, Vance, that TwinSpires is going to have plenty of big offers as we lead into Thanksgiving weekend and beyond.
Absolutely. All of our customers and new customers can check out TwinSpires.com, find some sign-up bonus opportunities and other bonus offerings that we offer throughout the country and the world.
Well, there you have it, TwinSpires.com, the way you can learn about all the offers and, of course, download the app, start betting with TwinSpires today. All right, the 8th at Fairgrounds, mile and a 16th on the turf. Great to see Fairgrounds back in action again. Purse of $54,000. It's an optional claimer. Who wins this one, Vance?
Well, not a very distinguished field of fillies and mares here. Second level allowance, basically. A lot of veterans in this race. Some of them running for a tag, but I'm kind of leaning towards a filly here that has, I think, some additional upside to her, and that's number 8, Trying My Heart Out, who has won twice in 9 starts, both of them on the NYRA circuit earlier this year, and both were major upsets. She won a maiden at Aqueduct in April at 23-1, and then passed her first allowance condition at Belmont in June, and that was a 42-1 upset also. So this filly tends to run unexpectedly well at times, and she did defeat 2 next out winners in both of those victories. Now, on the other hand, she's also run some very modest races outside of those 2 events. But if you kind of look at the comment lines on the past performances, this filly has encountered a lot of trouble in her races, and if she doesn't get off to a good start, and that's been a problem in recent races, she's going to have some trouble getting back into it. But the good news is that she's taking a needed drop in class after running unplaced in the Grade 3 Lake George at Saratoga, then a distant third last time in the stakes at Monmouth Park. First time here for trainer Shane Wilson, who acquired this filly a couple of months ago, was stabled at Louisiana Downs. He's kind of gotten to know her, obviously, and then she's been shipped to Fairgrounds in recent weeks and has turned in a couple of works there, including a bullet half mile and 48-1 on the 5th of November. So she seems to be coming into this race in presumably a good form. Following that workout, she's got a little bit of back class to her, some upside, and also there seems to be enough other speed in this race to, allow her to possibly sit a nice trip just off of it and hopefully make a winning move in the stretch.
This 8th race at the Fairgrounds, Vance, is one of those races where when I look at it and I look at the morning lines, I see a full field of 13, and then I see a 4-1 morning line favorite. Very, very lukewarm, and a great race, I think anyway, to take a swing for some value. So Trying My Heart Out at 8-1 is right in that category, and we'll see if Trying My Heart Out can find a way to get the winner's circle here for you and for everybody who takes a shot with her. Let's recap really quick. Aqueduct race 5, you'll take number 4, Equitize at 5-1. Churchill Race 7, number 9, Phantoma at 15-1. And Fairgrounds Race 8, number 8, Trying My Heart Out at odds of 8-1. The old 4-9-8 triple play.
That sounds all good to me, Mike.
Hey, the news coming out about Auguste Rodin, the Breeders' Cup Turf winner, staying in training going into 2024. You follow European international racing quite closely. What does that do to the landscape of the racing in Europe as we look ahead to 2024?
Well, it's often unusual for a 3-year-old of his caliber and his success to come back as an older horse, and I think that's a positive for fans of European racing, and so who will get an opportunity to watch him run, at least a handful more or more times next season. So I think that's great news. I'm curious as to whether they want to try running him in the Breeders' Cup Classic next year at Del Mar. I think that might be a race that's on their radar too. I think they want to enhance his stallion value, undoubtedly, hoping to maybe get a Grade 1 win on dirt as well as to add to all of his turf accolades. So positive move all around, I think, and it should be fun to see how well he does next year.
All right, he is Vance Hanson with this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. 3 races you can bet any way you like. Just make sure you're doing it at TwinSpires this afternoon. Vance, appreciate the visit, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to your family, and enjoy every moment of it.
Thank you, Mike. Happy Thanksgiving to you and everyone listening. Thanks.
All right, Vance Hanson here on HRRN. Coming up next, it is Kurt Becker's weekly Stroll Through Racing History presented by Keeneland. And at 10:30, Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin, both going to join me for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer, which is presented by our friends at the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. Looking forward to that visit. We're going to talk about a lot of the hottest topics in the sport today, including the 60-minute piece that aired last weekend. We'll talk about that and get Dale and Tim's thoughts at 10:30. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Churchill Downs 21-day fall meet runs now through November 26th with racing Wednesday through Sunday with daily first posts at 1 p.m. with 15 stakes, including the Grade 2 Clark on Friday, November 24th, and the Road to the Kentucky Derby prep season continuing October 29th with the Street Scent Stakes and November 25th with the Kentucky Jockey Club. Plus, the Stars of Tomorrow featuring all 2-year-old races on October 29th and November 25th. All purses powered by the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Fund. For tickets and more information, visit churchilldowns.com.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
It's Maxfield in front. Midnight Bourbon battles on Gamely. And Happy Savers closing down the center of the track. There's a 16th to go. It's Maxfield in front. Happy Savers finding stride late in the game. Maxfield digs down deep to win it. Maxfield wins the Clark. His Churchill dominance continues.
Darley Stallion Maxfield wrapped up his career with that impressive victory in the Grade 1 Clark, making Maxfield your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Maxfield, a winner of 6 graded stakes, including the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity and Grade 1 Clark. His first crop weanlings include the top price of any freshman sire at $500,000, and he stands for just $35,000 in 2024. Learn more about Maxfield and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He was a Chilean-bred import which broke records on both dirt and turf in Southern California in the early 1970s, and he later sired a Kentucky Derby winner. His name was Cougar. Foaled in Chile in 1966, Cougar was a dark bay or brown horse by Tale of Two Cities out of Cindy Lou. His sire had placed in the Irish Derby and was leading sire in Chile at the time Cougar was conceived and foaled. A Chilean Classic winner, Cougar became available for sale at the end of his 3-year-old season when his owners became concerned about political unrest surrounding an upcoming presidential election in their home country. Santa Anita Park track announcer Joe Hernandez, who also worked as a bloodstock agent, bought Cougar, imported him to the U.S., and brought him to Southern California. There would be a minor name change as the Jockey Club would add a Roman numeral 2 behind his name to help differentiate the Chilean-bred Cougar from a California bred of the same name. Sent to trainer G.A. Riley and listed in the name of Hernandez's Perla de Chico stud, Cougar went winless in his first 2 starts in Southern California. But Cougar was beginning to adjust to his new surroundings, and it soon became evident that he was a horse which would thrive on both dirt and turf. On August 8, 1970, Cougar won the Escondido handicap at Del Mar and paid $15 on a $2 mutual ticket, getting a 1 1/8 on the turf and a course record 1 minute 49 seconds. 2 weeks later, it was the Crosby course on the dirt at Del Mar for the Cabrillo handicap, and Cougar was once again the winner, covering the distance of about 1 1/4 miles in 1 minute 58 seconds and paying $12. Chilean-born jockey Fernando Toro was aboard each time for the winning ride. Following those record-setting performances, Hernandez was approached about selling Cougar, and he agreed to do so. The purchaser was Mary Florsheim Jones, heiress to the Florsheim shoe fortune. The price was a reported $125,000, the equivalent of $1 million today. And the new trainer would be Charlie Whittingham. Now in Whittingham's barn, Cougar would have a blockbuster campaign in 1971, scoring 6 wins, all in stakes races, including 4 victories in races for a purse of $100,000 or greater. Such numbers could arguably be the makings of a Horse of the Year campaign in most years, but such was not meant to be in this case. Instead, Horse of the Year would go to Ack Ack, another horse in the Whittingham barn and one which had beaten Cougar early in the season in the Santa Anita Handicap. In 1972, there were 4 more wins, all in stakes company for Cougar, including 3 more for a purse of $100,000. The campaign included a North American record 2 minutes 11 seconds flat at 1 3/8 on the turf in the Century Handicap at Hollywood Park, and culminated with an Eclipse Award as America's champion turf horse. But Cougar also showed prowess once again on dirt, capturing the 1 1/16 Californian Stakes at Hollywood Park in 1 minute 39 1/5 seconds, which narrowly missed a world record held by Swaps. The following year, in 1973, Cougar kept the success going, winning the Santa Anita Handicap before a crowd of 59,000 and doing so off a 4-month layoff. But maybe his greatest moment came in the Sunset Handicap at Hollywood Park. But first, some context for what was about to happen. Several weeks earlier in the Hollywood Gold Cup, owner Mary Jones had made the decision to pull Shoemaker from the saddle, believing a jockey 42 years of age was too old to compete against younger race riders. The crowd booed Jones in the paddock that day, and Cougar finished 3rd with Lafitte Pinkai Jr. in the saddle, while Shoemaker won the Hollywood Gold Cup aboard Kennedy Road, also from the Whittingham barn. But in the Sunset Handicap, Cougar and Shoemaker were reunited, and the crowd at Hollywood Park loved it. Spectators applauded Cougar during the post-parade, and Cougar appeared to stop, turn sideways, and acknowledge the cheers with a bow. He then proceeded to win the Sunset Handicap, despite conceding anywhere from 8 to 17 pounds to his rivals. Jones, still shaken by the negative reaction she had received a few weeks earlier, had decided to get an early start on heading to Del Mar. She would learn of Cougar's victory by phoning Hollywood Park later that afternoon. Cougar would finish his racing career with 18 stakes wins, including 10 in races with a purse of $100,000 or more. He would also retire as the first runner bred outside the U.S. to reach $1 million in career earnings. Cougar won 20 of 50 starts overall, with earnings of $1.1 million, ranking him number 8 on the all-time earnings list. Retiring to stud in Kentucky and standing initially for a fee of $10,000, Cougar stood 2 seasons at Spendthrift Farm before transferring to Stone Farm of Arthur Hancock III for the remainder of his career. He died at the age of 23 on June 11, 1989, having sired 24 stakes winners, including 1982 Kentucky Derby winner Gato del Sol. Whittingham once said that Cougar was a temperamental horse, but not a difficult horse to train. He said that the key to Cougar's success was found mainly in giving him time to mature and to become acclimated to the Northern Hemisphere. We remember Cougar, the Chilean bred which thrilled California racing audiences with his performances on both dirt and turf some 50 years ago. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
And once again, my thanks to Kurt and to Keeneland for making those segments possible each and every week. If you have missed any of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments, all you have to do is head back over to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can check out the special podcast page dedicated to those stories and listen to every single one. There have been some amazing ones. Go back and listen at horseracingradio.net. When I come back, Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin, they will be here. It is this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There are plenty of thrills at Gulfstream Park with live thoroughbred action Friday through Sunday and simulcasting 7 days a week. Join us on track for weekend stakes races and make plans for opening day of the championship meet on Friday, December 1st. Dine trackside in 10 Palms with an elevated view of the track or grab a cool cocktail in the Carousel Club. For reservations, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
The Maryland thoroughbred industry. For over 200 years, the innovative leader. Maryland was the first to have organized racing in North America and the first to establish a state breeders association. Maryland created the first thoroughbred yearling show, the first state magazine, the first state breeder incentive development program, the first international race to feature horses from 4 continents, and the first $1 million one-day stallion stakes event. The Maryland thoroughbred industry is the innovative leader.
Eclipse Champion Blade, a proven sire with over 15% lifetime stakes horses. His recent top runners include graded stakes winner Litigate, as well as Wet Paint. And in the sales ring, Blaine continues to prove his value. Also an emerging broodmare sire. His stakes-producing daughters include the dam of Eclipse Champion Forte.
Forte to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile!
Blade, standing at Claiborne Farm.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
And Shackelford is still in hand around the outside. Take Charge Indy is now in second and taking dead aim at Shackelford, but Shackelford has the lead into the lane. Take Charge Indy now in second. On the inside is Luna Victory. Then down the outside, staying on his Bourbon Carriage. Shackelford, though, has turned away Take Charge Indy. The last to challenge will be Bourbon Carriage, but the one who's got the courage in spades is Shackelford. He's out in front, but he needs the line. Shackelford wins the clock. Shackelford goes into retirement with a brilliant, emphatic front-running victory in the 138th running of the Clark Handicap.
That was 11 years ago that Dale Romans sent out his Preakness winner Shackelford to score in the Grade 1 Clark. Mark Johnson had the call. That race is renewed on Friday as part of a huge Thanksgiving week feast of stakes action at Churchill Downs, and it got us thinking about the one food item you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table. Dale and Tim will share their thoughts. Plus, why were there no public works in the program for Breeders' Cup Classic runner-up Derma Sotogake prior to the big race? And did 60 Minutes get it right or wrong?
Those topics and much, much more are straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, and all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. And it all comes your way in just 30 seconds from right now.
Learn the business of horses in the world's only accredited equine business program, the University of Louisville Equine Business Program. The University of Louisville has a legacy of excellence educating and developing industry leaders for over 35 years. Classes are taught by industry experts in state-of-the-art facilities located in the heartland of America's equine industry. The University of Louisville Equine Business Program. When it comes to horses, we mean business. For more information, visit business.louisville.edu/equine.
All right, Dale and Tim are in the starting gate with me. We're ready to roll on this week's I Ask, They Answer. And gentlemen, we begin with this topic. It is a follow-up to one of our topics on last week's show, which we discussed, involving future sites for the Breeders' Cup. And we received an email from Craig, who was very frustrated by the support that we showed for Churchill as a future site. He says that while the venue and history of Churchill is outstanding, he feels the host of the Breeders' Cup should be a celebrant and advocate for the sport of horse racing, and believes that, if anything, Churchill is negative on the sport, pointing out the fact that they are a corporation and they're focused on profit, and they have a track record of closing some of our sport's most iconic tracks for profit, including Arlington, Hollywood, and Calder. He then goes on to say the last thing the industry should do is reward Churchill Downs with the honor of hosting the Breeders' Cup. So, guys, I'm going to toss it to you this way. How do you respond to Craig's viewpoint? Tim, you want it first?
Sure. Well, Craig, I think you're wrong on this one. I mean, Churchill Downs is an iconic racetrack, and it's also an iconic structure in all of sports. If racing is indeed going to, migrate and start going to the other tracks, even though I wish they would stay in California because I'm biased, because I like the warm weather and I think it looks great for the sport. If they're going to go to Kentucky, Kentucky's the home of horse racing. Kentucky is the TwinSpires is where the most famous horse race in the world is held. And it should be held at Churchill Downs. Yes, I know that there's politics involved, but for the betterment of the sport, it has to be in a place where horse racing history lives, and history lives at Churchill Downs. I get where he's coming from, but I also disagree with him.
Yeah, I'll disagree with him, too, and I'll disagree with one point. I don't think Churchill feels like they would be rewarded by having the Breeders' Cup. I don't think they even care, probably don't even want it. It's not a big windfall for any racetrack where it goes. They basically rent their facility, and they lose 2 days of racing. They don't get any of the handle, and I don't think Churchill thinks it's a windfall at all. But I do think it's a windfall for my city, Louisville, Kentucky. And I do think that you're right. You can criticize a lot of things they've done, but you can also look at a lot of great things that have happened and that Churchill's been a part of. And for the horsemen on the backside, which I consider Churchill Downs, I don't consider the corporate suits Churchill Downs. I consider the guys I grew up with on the backside, from Greg Foley and Bernie Flint and all the guys that have been back there for years. I think it's them that want the Breeders' Cup to come back to our racetrack, where we train majority of our horses. And yeah, you can bitch about Churchill a lot, complain. Sorry, Lee. You can complain about Churchill a lot, but they also do a lot of great things, and it's an iconic place, and it goes way deeper. The roots here are way deeper than the corporate people running it right now.
Dale, that's a wonderful point that often gets overlooked. When the Breeders' Cup concept came along in 1984, we mentioned this last week, John Gaines had the mindset that the event would rotate from track to track to various parts of the country to showcase our sport to racing fans all over the United States. And now we've seen it go throughout North America as it went to Woodbine that one year. The economic impact to those cities that the Breeders' Cup comes to, I think that gets overlooked sometimes, but it's typically a very significant economic impact for that week to 10 days that the Breeders' Cup is in town. And it makes a a huge difference, especially for a city, for example, like Louisville and like Lexington, Kentucky, that aren't L.A. and aren't New York. It has a direct impact on those the times that the Breeders' Cup is there.
It has a major impact, and like John Gaines said, he wanted to take racing to the people. Well, there's nobody that loves horse racing more than the people in Louisville, Kentucky, and they support Churchill Downs. But yeah, maybe we shouldn't say take it to Churchill Downs. Let's say take it to the city of Louisville, Kentucky.
All right, Craig, we appreciate that insight from you, your opinion. If you have a question for Dale and Tim, you can go ahead and submit that question to me, Mike at horseracingradio.net. We tell you that every week. They love answering your questions, and we'll get that worked into the show going forward. Guys, here's another one. It comes from Jeff via email regarding Breeders' Cup Classic runner-up Derma Sotogake, who his most recent public workout showing in the past performances before the Breeders' Cup Classic was on May 2nd. That was prior to his run in the Kentucky Derby. Do you think it's fair to the betting public to have a horse with no published workouts for over 6 months going into one of the biggest races we have in this country? And he wants to know, isn't there a rule that horses need to have a posted workout in the program coming off of a layoff that long? Dale?
In America, there's that rule, but I think you see a lot of horses coming from around the world that show up here that race under different rules in different jurisdictions. And you just have to know that when you're handicapping. I don't think we can make them change their rules. They might even have clockers that register works in Japan. I don't know. But if you look at the bottom of his form, his only work that shows up is the one he got at Churchill Downs when he was prepping for the Kentucky Derby. So you just have to look at the form and figure he has been working, or he wouldn't have had such a good form. It's not like there was a pattern of works and then there's a gap in a long period of time where he didn't work. That's an interesting question, and I don't know how they get away with it because there is a rule here. If you haven't run in 30 days, you have to have a published work. But we have to bend them a little bit, I think, for the international horses. They do things their way, and that's one of the things when just like their form doesn't show any early pace in the race when you're looking at it. You just have to figure they've run well with that pattern and bet accordingly.
It's not like Derma Sotogake was just sitting there doing nothing. He was scheduled to run in a race on September 27th in Japan, but he missed it because of a foot injury. It was the same race that the fellow Japanese horse Ushba Tesoro, and I probably butchered that name, won. And he was supposed to be the horse from Japan for the Classic. He finished fifth. Derma Sotogake finished second. But if you dig enough, you can find that he did have works. There was a timed workout for him September 22nd. He won 4 furlongs in 53.6. It's I get where it can be frustrating for a bettor, and he's looking for any information he can get, and workouts are an important part of that. When you don't see any, you don't know what they're doing. And the Japanese have a different kind of training regimen. They'll canter around a track for hours. It seems that they'll be out there doing their exercises. But there was no published workouts for any of the Japanese horses. I don't think any of the Europeans really. So I think there has to be some more of a uniformity with workouts when you're heading to the Breeders' Cup or big races in America. Maybe there should be a rule put in place that they have to have them listed, because it puts it more on an even playing field for all the people that are playing the horses. But obviously, Derma Sotogake was doing just fine because he ran a bang-up second in the class. He only got beat at length by Woida Barrio. But I think there should be something in place in the rules where there has to be something listed as you head up for these big races. It's only fair.
Tim, where did you find the workout from September?
I dug deep into the internet.
Okay. So that's a lot of work for handicappers to have to go through. Maybe Breeders' Cup does start looking at making that mandatory, that there has to be a published workout shown in the program before the horse can compete in one of those races, right?
And the other thing, too, after that workout, they said he was going to have 3 more, but I could not find them anywhere. So I don't know if they happened. Maybe they did happen, but they weren't published anywhere. We know they're very secretive over there, but man.
Isn't there a rule that there's supposed to be a published workout shown in the program? I didn't know there was an exception for foreign horses.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's a good question. There is a rule that you have to have a work. I mean, we run into that all the time over here. You might want to just gallop a horse into a race, but you've got to put a work in him. But I want to compliment Tim on his research. I don't know if I've ever said it before, but that's Mr. Research.
Dale, everybody's got to be good at something.
You got research. I'll give you that.
The Research
I can't
Hall
even
of
pronounce
Famer.
the horse's name, and you know what days he worked.
Well, I just got to translate more of that into picking my horses for the next showdown, I guess.
Right. You should work on that.
Yeah, Timmy brought that up, not us, Dale, just for the record.
I know.
Tim,
I was never going to say anything again.
Tim introduced that to this week's show, not us. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But it is that time of the show where we get to say hello to our friend Nick Zito, and you guys get to tell me if the following statement is indeed right or wrong.
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Now, what do you think, Nicky? We're going to find out what Dale and Tim think about this one, because last Sunday, 60 Minutes aired a segment which electrified the thoroughbred industry. The segment focused on horse racing's problems, including the number of catastrophic injuries sustained by horses this year and the use of performance-enhancing drugs on horses. Many people within the industry took umbrage with the way that 60 Minutes chose to produce this segment and portray the sport, viewing it as a one-sided and kind of failing to tell the full story. So I'll ask you this. Did 60 Minutes get this one right or wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Dale?
I absolutely got it wrong. It was a poorly done episode, and trying to connect the dots of cheaters to horses breaking down to Bob Baffert. I mean, totally different scenarios. Bob Baffert's thing was illegal medication. Trying to connect him to Service and Navarro was absolutely ridiculous. We need to get into do a whole show about the politics inside of our game, too. And Corey, the way I feel about it, there's a fox in the hen house that's trying to run our game down so they think they can rebuild it back the way they want. It was a sad day for horse racing and for people, in my opinion. We'll talk more about that later.
Well, if 60 Minutes' goal was to shock the public, they certainly did that. I don't know if it was necessary to show these breakdowns in their piece. And they painted a picture. Yeah, and yes, there are problems with horse racing. I'm not going to dispute that. But the way they painted it, you'd think that everybody that trains a racehorse should be put in jail. There's a lot of admirable people that do this for a living, and they're getting raked over the coals for this piece. I just thought it was very unfair, unbalanced. I think that fine, they had Lisa Lazarus on there to talk to give the pitch that they're going to do whatever they can, and I applaud her for that. But man, to paint the sport like it's two steps out of San Quentin is just unconscionable to me.
Yeah, there were a lot of layers to that piece, and you mentioned the footage of the horses that were breaking down that they showed, and the shock factor I think that they were going for. I actually ran into somebody later that evening after the piece aired, and they were not a horse racing person at all, but they happened to see that piece, and they said, my goodness, isn't that awful with what's going on with horse racing? After they found out I was involved with horse racing, and I had to find myself defending our sport and explaining. But at that point, you've already lost that person, right? They're already going to believe what they saw in that piece, and it was an uphill battle for me to try to explain to them the intricacies of what they were watching in that piece. And here's another thing that gets lost in the shuffle. One of the people that was very prominent in there was Stuart Janney, the chairman of the Jockey Club. And one of the things that struck me is when he said that he instructed the investigative firm 5 Stones to go after the people that he thought were cheating, that he himself thought were cheating, and he instructed them, hey, go investigate these people. Boy, that's a slippery slope right there, guys. Stuart Janney is not the commissioner of thoroughbred racing. He's the chairman of the Jockey Club.
when he starts instructing and interjecting his opinion and telling an investigative firm to go after certain people, that to me is a very slippery slope. Do you agree?
Agree 100%. That's why I'm going to keep my mouth shut for right now, but I'm not keeping it shut for long.
I agree with Dale on that. I mean, it almost like it became personal.
Yep.
And, I just don't understand. That's why I think thoroughbred racing needs to have a public relations person, a national public relations person involved with all of this. But because that was just, when he was saying that, I was like, I had to rewind the TV and say, did he really say that? And yeah, he did.
Yeah, that struck me.
One of the biggest jokes of the whole thing was saying his family owned the Great Champion Seed Biscuit. Yeah, but they didn't say that he had never broken his maiden when they sold him for $10,000 before he went on to become the Great Champion.
Yep, a lot of things in that piece that we could sit here and dissect for the next hour, but we have to move on to the next topic. We'll bring that back next week, right or wrong, with our friend Nick Zito as part of I Ask, They Answer, as we do every single week. Guys, 2 more topics to get to before you make your final point, and we're going to have some fun with these next 2. It was 62 years ago today, November 18th, 1961, that Hall of Fame jockey Eddie Arcaro rode his last career race. He finished 3rd aboard Endymion and in the Pimlico Futurity, and I hope I said the horse's name correctly, but it was in the Pimlico Futurity. Eddie retired with a then record $30,039,543 in purses and 4,779 career wins. Arcaro was as fierce a competitor as the sport has ever seen. Once, if you recall this story, when he was appearing before Chief Steward Marshall Cassidy to answer for his actions in knocking a fellow rider off his mount in the 1942 Cowden Stakes, he almost pitched that rider into the infield. And Arcaro famously responded without hesitation, quote, "I was trying to kill the son of a bitch." That is a fact. That is the story that's out there. Which individuals, guys, make your list of the fiercest competitors in racing history? Tim, you want it first?
I go back to the one that I've always thought was the most fierce competitor I've ever seen. That was Angel Cordero, Hall of Fame rider who would stop at nothing to win a race. And, he wouldn't think twice about going through a hole or trying to put someone over the fence if it was going to get him a victory. And, but you could look at I think every jockey's a fierce competitor. You have to be to do what they do day in and day out. My hat is always off to these guys because they're fearless and, fierce. They're fierce competitors. And I'm going to throw out one more. It's an equine. Remember the horse Fasig Fire?
Yeah.
In 2021, he was in the Forego at Saratoga, and he was coming down the stretch in a ding-dong battle with a horse named Yopan. And Fasig Fire was on the outside. He just leaned over and started savaging poor Yopan about 3 or 4 times. I mean, he was if that's not a fierce competitor, I don't know what is. But Yopan got the last laugh because he won the race by a lip. But maybe Yopan was a fierce competitor too. But I've never seen anything like that. The way those 2 horses came down the stretch, and this horse was going at him inside the 16th pole for it seemed like a good 100 yards. So I'm going to put him in my list too. He's a tough guy.
You talk about that race real quick. That led to one of the greatest quotes I think ever in sports, was by Steve Asmussen of Opon. He said, "Well, you think Mike Tyson bit Holyfield's ear because he thought he was winning?" I thought that was pretty witty of old Steve.
Yeah,
tremendous.
But talk about jockeys being. I'm gonna give you 2 of them, and one of them nobody would even believe. But Pat Day was as fierce a competitor as you ever saw. Now he's been a great minister to everyone in the game outside of the racetrack. But one of the jocks said one time walking back, he said he doesn't carry a Bible from the gate to the wire. And I thought, and he's one of the greatest of all time. But the most competitive person I've ever been around in my life was Jerry Bailey. And you go down and try to talk to him after a race he lost, he might throw the saddle down in the groom's face and blame him. He'd blame me, blame every trainer, and yell at you walking back. He wasn't giving you excuses for why he lost. He was telling you what you did wrong. One time I went to Bill Mott when Mott was riding him on everything, and Mott was on top of the world, as he always has been. And I said, how do you talk to that son of a gun after a race? He said, I said, he's awful to everybody. He said, I don't. He said, I wait till the next morning. He comes to the office, and he sits down, and we go over the races. He said, but remember, that little bit of edge might be what makes him greater than anybody riding today. But Jerry Bailey was tough.
Yep. I've heard the same sort of stories about Gary Stevens. And he was another one that would come back and be ticked off if he lost a race, oftentimes yelling at the connections, afterwards, because he was so mad that he got beat. And he did not take losing well. But like you just said, Dale, maybe that's the thing that makes those guys so great.
Yeah, one time walking back after a Kitten's Joy race, and I'm going to tell you what, Jerry got him flat beat. I'm going to tell everybody he should have never got beat in the race. I think it was the Jefferson Cup or something on Derby week. And he moved him way too early, and then he started posing and got nailed on the wire. And I was so mad when I went down there. And he told me, he said, your horse got a little fresh today. I wanted to punch him in the head if I didn't outweigh him by 100 pounds. Well, it took 15 years later. Jerry walks up to me one day and says, I rode Ken's Joy pretty bad in that race. But it took him 15 years to admit it.
I love it. Yeah, there have been some incredibly tough competitors in racing history, both equine and on the jockey side as well. And it's a fun topic as we remember Eddie Arcaro on this Saturday morning. One more to get to before your final point. How about this? What is the one food, guys, you absolutely have to have on your Thanksgiving dinner table? Dale?
Oh, we did this last year, and I said I like oyster casserole. Timmy had never heard of it, and it appalled him. But this year, I'm
still does.
I'm going to go with my mother's broccoli casserole, and I hope she feels good enough. She's 81 years old now, so I'm not going to make her stand at the oven for very long, but I'm going to make her make that one dish for us.
Well, that sounds a lot better than that oyster thing you had, but broccoli casserole is good. I applaud you for that. I would applaud your mother for making it for you. But I guess you got to put turkey on the table, right? If you want to have a good Thanksgiving dinner, you got to have the turkey. So I'm going to go with the bird.
Why doesn't anybody eat turkey any time other than Thanksgiving? There's got to be a good reason, because it's not very tasty.
It tastes like chicken.
You're right.
Yeah.
Everything tastes like chicken, right?
How about a lemon meringue pie? That's my favorite on Thanksgiving.
Come on
lemon meringue pie.
Come on.
Well,
you got to have it. I like apple pie too, blueberry pie, but Thanksgiving it's got to be lemon meringue.
What about pumpkin? You got to have a pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving.
Dutch apple pie is better than regular apple pie. You can keep the pumpkin. I don't want that. It's too.
We've heard that from me before.
It's too much smoothie stuff in there.
Yeah. The one thing I don't want to see is cranberry sauce. Can't stand it.
I agree on that 100%.
I don't mind if we can go without it, but that's one way to choke down turkey is you put a little cranberry sauce on it. The best thing
You'd probably rather have a
is
steak, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would, but or a pizza even. But the best thing about turkeys is turkey salad sandwiches the next week.
Well, you just smother it with gravy and it'll taste fine.
All right.
Just make sure it's not dry.
I love it. Yeah. Dale's ordering Domino's after everybody finishes their meal.
Hey, do you know that the number one day for pizza delivery and pizza orders is bigger than Super Bowl? It's the day before Thanksgiving, because nobody wants to cook that day. That's a fact. Fact check me, Tim. You check facts.
That's a great
fact. I was just gonna say, Dale, you talk about me doing the research. You must have done some research for that. Either that or you call Domino's a lot.
You remember I used to be 400 pounds. I know a little something about eating.
That's true. I remember that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, down to the final 16th of a mile, coming down to the wire on this week's show. It is, it's time for you guys to make one final point at the end of the program. Timmy, let's kick it off with you this week. What's your one final point?
Well, now that the Thanksgiving is upon us, I'm going to take this opportunity to be thankful for doing this show with Mike, you, and Dale, and our crack producer, Lee. It's something I look forward to every week, and I really appreciate all the people that have talked to me and told me how much they like our show. And I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it.
Oh, Timmy, we love having you. I love doing this show too. I'm going to take a little extra time if it's all right with Lee. You played that clip at the beginning of the show, and then you kind of just glossed over the rest of it. But I will say, it gave me chills to listen to the last run of Shackelford. I wish he was still standing over there. He was a great and special horse. But that day was absolutely special. He stumbled to his knees at the even money as an easy money favorite in the Breeders' Cup Mile, the race before, and we were going to retire him. And I begged him not to retire him. I said, just let me run him back one more time. I don't want my big horse to go out a loser. And they let me run him back in the Clark, and they told me I was going to cut his value of stud if he got beat again. I said, don't worry, he isn't getting beat again. And when the announcer called him at the half-mile pole, looking at the last half-mile of his career, it gave me chills. The whole crowd stood up. There must have been 30,000 people there that night, and they started cheering for him, and they never stopped cheering until he walked out of the winner's circle and back to the barn. We had to have extra security come. There were so many people around to see the first social media star racehorse, I think, was Shackelford, and everyone in the country loved him. And thanks for playing that clip. It gave me chills. And Saturday is the big race. We'll talk about it next week. But that was a good flashback.
Yep, I've got chills listening to you tell that story, Dale. Fantastic stuff. And I'm certainly thankful for you and for Tim taking time to do this segment every week, and for all the listeners who have sent us notes and participated in the show. Keep those coming. We love hearing from you, and very thankful for every listener out there in HRRN Nation as well. All right, guys, appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to your families. We'll talk again next week. We'll do it all over again.
See you, pal.
All right, if you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim debate, email that topic to me, Mike@horseracingradio.net, and I will do my best to get that worked into the program. I Ask, They Answer is presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with more. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, Matthew.
There's a reason why Tony's Steaks and Seafood is my favorite restaurant. It's because I want to feel part of the family. Isn't that right, Tony?
That's right. There's a saying on the wall that I truly believe in. There's always room for one more at our table. We just want you to be part of our family.
And believe me, you will be. It's Tony's Steaks and Seafood right across from Triangle Park. Visit them at TonySteaksandSeafood.com.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Trainer Talk, presented by Fasig-Tipton.
Please join me in welcoming Hall of Fame trainer Todd Fletcher.
Hall of Fame trainer Nick Zito on Trainer Talk. Welcome Hall of Famer Bob Baffert to the program. Hall of Fame trainer Shug McGahee, nice enough to spend some time with us. Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott here on Trainer Talk. Dual Hall of Fame trainer Mark Cassey.
Trainer Talk, the biggest names in horse racing. Wednesdays, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Well, remember the November issue of Blood Horse features 170 pages, including new chapters, a story by Lenny Schulman focused on Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott, who at age 70 continues to set the bar high. And on another level, jockey agent extraordinaire Ron Anderson has won 39 Breeders' Cup races going into this year's event. Karen Johnson takes a look back at his life and his career. You can download a copy of the November issue now from the Blood Horse Magazine tablet app via the App Store or Google Play, or order a copy at shop.bloodhorse.com. Well, my thanks to all of our guests for making this show possible here this morning. It has been a really fun program, talking about some incredible storylines, looking at the races coming up in New York later today, and at Woodbine with trainer Robert Tiller. That story surrounding Patches O'Houlihan is a really cool one. And if you missed it, you can head back and check out the podcast at horseracingradio.net. You can also do that on every podcast platform. Don't forget, too, to continue to follow us on social media at HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, YouTube, and on Instagram. My thanks to Kurt Becker for his Stroll Through Racing History, Vance Hanson for that TwinSpires triple play, and Dale and Tim with I Ask, They Answer in the segment you just heard. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studio, and to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week. In the meantime, go Steelers, bring on the Browns.